787.
787 departure frequency notified will be 1257.
25-7, thanks.
Alrighty, man. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to get you to come on the show.
I know. Got to get through my secretary first.
Yeah.
Just to get a hold of me.
My people tried to get a hold of your people.
Yeah.
It took a while.
Yeah.
No, it was the other night when I swung by and you were in your garage and we were talking for a little bit and I was like, all right, this guy needs to come on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've wanted to for a while.
Yeah.
Just finding the time, really. But
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you got your own business. You got offspring, you know.
Yes.
You got hopes and goals and dreams.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Definitely keeps a man busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what have you been working on lately? Just is it American Standard?
American Standard cleaning. Really, I mean, it's just something new every day.
Right.
You know, we have our contracts we clean, staying up on, on top of that, making sure our employees are happy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Beforehand, he said he had 8 employees.
Yeah.
That's
8.
awesome.
I know, man.
That's like a new level.
It is. We started off, we've been, August will be 4 years.
Okay.
We've been doing this. We hired our first person. It was January of 16, I believe, maybe
Nice.
15. It's been 3 years he's been with us. And like I said, he's been with us since the beginning,
Yeah.
And a lot of employees, it's a high turnover industry. you know.
Right.
So we go through a lot of people. You have your few diamonds in the rough,
Right.
that make it through and,
Right.
work for you for a while. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges, we face is finding somebody. We started off just hiring anybody, and then, you try to find older people because you think maybe they'll.
Here.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that.
Pull this up like right about there, and I'll point
Is
it.
that better?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
There you go.
But
Yes.
like we tried hiring older people maybe to see if that would cut down on the turnover rate.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Really?
Like, yeah, anymore. It's just hard to find somebody that will work for less than $15 an hour,
Right.
And I mean, I get that. I'd love to pay people whatever,
Sure.
but it's just the economy,
Well, yeah, and it's the dynamics of business too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's the ebb and flow and the
Yeah.
balance and everything, and
and you got to be competitive,
right.
Because cleaning, anybody, if they wanted to, could just up and start, cleaning buildings and stuff like that.
Right.
Your next step, tier above that is getting all your workers' comp insurance and liability insurance. A lot of our customers require us, to have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in coverage.
What, like KMT and stuff like that.
Yeah. Your big corporations generally
Right.
are more strict. Your local businesses, it's kind of up to that person whether they want to require, you to have insurance or not. But it's always good to have it when you have other people working for you.
Right.
Because no matter how much you train, safety standards, anything like that, ultimately you're responsible,
Right.
for the financial side of things. So
That's
it's
like
always,
what half the battle of owning a business and
Oh, yeah.
conducting business.
Yeah. Being insured.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's like door after door after door.
Yeah.
But it's got its pros and it's got its cons.
It does. Like, I mean, there's nights, it could be 10, 11 o'clock at night, and you got employees calling you up,
Right.
whatever the issue may be at the job site, and you got to handle it.
Right. When you're, off,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're never fully off.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I'm at the very beginning stages. Like, well, I guess, I mean, I've had Infinite for a while, but it's more of it's like a garage operation,
Sure,
like
yeah.
someone just like, hey, can you film my wedding? And I'd be there. But now it's kind of like taking that next step to like legitimacy, like buying buildings and
yeah.
I don't have any employees yet, but like when you first started American Standard, it's just you and Grant, wasn't it?
It was us too.
Yeah.
We had a couple people, like when jobs would come up,
Right.
that would help us out, which when we first started for the first 6 months or so, I held a full-time job elsewhere, and Grant was still going to school at Southern, and we would just kind of do things here and there,
Right.
It was more about getting our name out there.
Right.
And we got our first contract that January. We started in August, and we got our first commercial contract that January, and that's kind of where it took off.
Yeah.
We hired our first person.
That's awesome.
I still held the job for 3 or 4 months, maybe into the summer. And then it just got to a point where I was making, it wasn't worth working for somebody else for
Right.
$9-10 an hour
Right.
when I could be out building the business,
Right.
So that's kind of the next step. And then from there, it just really snowballed,
Yeah.
We made a lot of great business relationships.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it all came down. I mean, we spent a lot of money at first, Facebook marketing, which, for a B2B standpoint, which is kind of where we focus on, like most of our customers are other businesses.
Okay.
So your return rate on Facebook marketing isn't very high.
Right. Not for residential either. Or?
Some,
Right,
but residential cleaning, like house cleaning,
Right.
it's just kind of the insurance plays into it. Like for a commercial, like our company, we have to kind of we have to cover the cost for having insurance. So when we clean a house, we got to charge more than what a gal that would, what she would charge cleaning on her own,
Right. Right.
because most homeowners aren't going to want insurance and all that stuff.
Right. At least not around here.
Yeah, because it'll, like in your high-end homes, that's where it would help. But just, it's such a small piece of the pie in the cleaning industry.
Yeah.
Like it's less than probably 10% of the revenue
Wow.
is residential versus commercial cleaning.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the commercial side of it is really where the money's at. So that's, once we did residential cleaning at first, but once we got the commercial side rolling, we focused more on that.
Right.
And it just, like I said, we made one of our biggest customers, we got a hold of them through a mailing advertiser, like a
Cool.
letter we wrote
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
And
Well, it was just like, dear so-and-so, we are
Yeah.
American Standard and we're looking for.
And I'll tell you, you remember in high school, the like Microsoft computer apps or something,
Yeah.
where you learn how to use Excel and
Yes.
Word and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Never used it. I mean, you did here and there, in college, but like mailing list,
Yeah.
where you just download a sheet. There's, companies that compile mailing list for
Right.
marketing, and you just buy 1,000 of them at a time,
You buy addresses?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And contacts. There's a website called Hoover's,
Mhm.
and it's a division of like Dun & Bradstreet, which is a big Wall Street like credit agency and stuff like
Okay.
that. They compile all these business customers, in a database, and you buy the database essentially, like
That's cool.
spreadsheets. And you download those and pretty much generate 100 letters at a time,
That's cool.
with the people's information.
Right.
You link it up in there. But I think it cost us like 72 cents per letter to mail
Okay.
out, right?
Uh-huh.
And we probably sent, I think we do 75 to 100 at a time.
Right.
And one person, I mean, it's paid back,
Yeah, of
in 3
course.
years now, like 1,000%
Right.
plus, like way beyond. So it's just about meeting the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
And, that's one phase of the advertising side of it, marketing side of it. Another aspect is just constantly being in that person, the decision maker at that business. You got to get in their ear once you find out who they are, and just keep bugging them, whether it's once a month, you call them up, email
Right,
them, just
right.
follow up on them. And at some point, they may need a cleaning service, and,
Right.
they'll hit you up, hopefully.
Right. Because you've been pounded in their
Yeah.
head, and it's like,
That's who they think of when they
Right.
think I need a cleaning company.
Right.
You want to be in their mind.
Right.
It's
Like, oh, there's that
ingrained.
Cody kid. He needs to.
Yeah.
I need to give him a call.
That guy that keeps calling me.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Right. But that's what you gotta do.
Yeah, it is. And that's one of my, because I've learned so much in this process. One of my weakest points, in the beginning was selling things, handling the rejection, because, you may get 100 no's before you get that one yes. But if you want another sell, you got to take those no's and just go on to the next one,
Right.
And
Like not taking no for an answer, or going like, okay, they're not interested in it, but
you got to
don't
find the
let that-
balance.
Right.
Like at that point, if they're not interested, if it's a no, don't push the issue and become obnoxious.
Right.
But just let it be, and then check in with them
Right.
another month down the road, 3 months, however long,
So you're saying like, don't let it discourage you from the next sale.
Exactly.
Right.
If somebody says
Totally.
no, don't sit there, and be down about it.
Right.
Just accept it and
Right.
then move to the next person.
Yeah.
And maybe there'll be a yes. You
Right,
know, maybe
right.
they'll want to set a meeting up or
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar to waiting tables. And
Yeah.
if you go to the table, did you ever wait tables for? You did for a while, didn't you? Like Applebee's or something?
No. When I worked at Sonic in high school, from
Close
time
enough.
to time,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
car hop.
Yeah.
I've done that, but no, you know, sit down restaurants or
right.
anything. Yeah.
Well, you're lucky. So.
There's been times where, you know, I've tried,
Yeah.
you know, in Pittsburgh, you know, trying to find a job up
Cafe
there.
Del Rio.
Oh my, that's where everybody works. They're in
Yeah.
Applebee's.
Yep. Yeah, Applebee's there. Now there's Buffalo Wild Wings and a couple
Yeah.
other places.
Man, Pittsburgh now, just what they have up there now, they don't know how lucky they are.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause when we were up there, you know, it was like Freddy's, McDonald's, Taco
Freddy's
Bell.
was brand new, man.
It was,
It
yeah.
was spanking new.
That's high end for a poor college kid. That's when you want to impress your date.
Yeah. Oh my God, Freddy's. Yeah, you get one milkshake.
Yeah. Don't ever do
We
it.
used to go. Where we go? Was that Mazzio's or Domino's? Right, it's Domino's.
There's a there for a while when I was living there. Domino's wasn't open, but I think they opened back up towards the end of.
Because you
my
remember where we
time
used
there.
to live,
Yeah.
and then that down that alleyway would lead you to Domino's. It was, it was a
remember-
little like either pick carry out store or like
Yeah.
delivery.
Yeah.
So we were frequent customers of that
yeah.
Domino's.
Bob's Grill, that was a good one.
Yeah.
They have good burgers there.
Yeah.
Good place.
You never made it down to Broadway, or you never made it down like North Broadway to like the old time, like the I don't even know any of the names, but there was like cool little breakfast spots, like just hometown Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Harry's, I believe.
it called Harry's?
Cafe? I don't know if
think
it's
you're
open
right.
anymore, but
Yeah.
that was a place.
Like that's where we should have been hanging out.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
dumping money back into the local economy,
yeah.
not Freddy's.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say about waiting tables is that one of the things, especially at Red Oak, is that if you say you just go to it, you get a table and it's catastrophe on say like you do a really good job, they seem really friendly, like man you did a really good job, and then you see the tip and it's like
Yeah.
you know, like gut wrenching.
Yeah.
I mean there are two choices in that moment. There's either you can let it affect you and you get all pissed, and then when you go to your next table you have this sharpness in your voice and your facial tone and everything, to where they kind of pick up on it, and you're setting the tone for the meal. You know, it's like, man, what's up with this person? You know, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Or you can just take the hit. You know, yes, it's painful, but let that go, and then restart
Just
and
move on to the next one.
Move on to the next one. Don't let it affect. And I've seen it time and time again, where someone will get a bad table early in the night, and it snowballs into like the worst night. You know, where every table sucks, all the tips suck, and it's like, hey, it's not them, it's you. You know. It's like that saying of, oh boy, I'm really good with sayings on this show. If you step in dog shit, and oh man, I can't even. Something about if you step in dog shit and you think the world is covered in dog shit, then it's not covered in dog shit. It's just dog shit on your shoe, like something like that. I don't remember.
I think I catch the drift.
Something like that. Dude, when Levi was on, I had a hell of a time trying to remember some of these quotes, and it was disastrous. But yeah. But yeah, your Snapchat yesterday was.
Oh man.
He sent out this Snapchat that was very intense.
Stuff you don't want to see, because that's a living condition that somebody lived in. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We go into some units, like these apartment units that we clean after tenants will move out. And occasionally, which these are the ones you hope for, but they're pretty clean, like clean people.
They did their due diligence of
their
part of cleaning.
They wanted their deposit back.
Yeah.
Full deposit.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of those instances when we clean units, rental properties, like what we charge will come out of their deposit.
Oh, okay.
You know, which is nice, because then you don't have the customer so much concerned about the price.
Right.
You know, it won't be so tight on it, because it's not so much coming out of their money.
Yeah, really.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, man, every once in a while you'll find some gems, like people will leave like a TV or like a electric smoker.
I imagine
those
these are
before.
things that you've actually found.
Yes. Yeah.
That you use still.
Doesn't happen often. There was one time we cleaned a unit and there was like a big 63-inch Samsung or Sony or something. We thought we hit the jackpot and go to plug it in and it was shattered. You know? So they left it for us
to deal with.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy.
Yeah, I imagine.
carrying that thing out of there. Yeah.
Some of those older TVs are a rock.
Oh, man.
A freaking rock.
Yeah.
When Casey or Colby worked at the villas. Do you remember that time period? Yeah. And then he would like subcontract out Casey to like help him, you know. He was in charge of like fixing stuff, painting rooms, you know, all kinds of stuff. But when people would move out, right about now, or actually probably a couple weeks ago, they would come across gyms like that all the time. And I remember Casey was living here, and one time he brought home someone's groceries.
What?
That
Oh man.
They were still in their like Walmart bags, and the guy had been gone for I don't know how long, but it was like rice, like wild rice and all this stuff.
Heck yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay. But yeah, he had all sorts of little trinkets. I can't really think of any that came to my mind right now, but they were always finding something, you know. And then the hoarder inside of you is, I can use that.
Yeah, I could sell that or use that.
Yeah. We're going through that with the building right now. Like we found a light post, and you know we're just looking at it, thinking someone on Facebook Market will pick that up.
Yeah.
And got a motorized hospital bed.
Oh.
I know. We have right across the street is Sleepy Girl. I think it's Sleepy Girl's antique shop, and I mean I think we should just go over there and give it to him. Just like, here, you deal with it. Cause
buy me some lunch.
right.
You can have it.
Watch my building. Make sure no one kicks in the door, and I'll watch yours, and you can have this motorized bed.
Tell you the coolest place where we found, like the coolest stuff we ever found over in Joplin, like downtown. I think it's Virginia. Mm-hmm. It's like 13th in Virginia or so.
Mm-hmm. It's right by Tucker's place.
It's used to be the old Coca-Cola bottling factory.
Okay.
It's
really big building.
Really big warehouse.
That's literally right by Tucker. There's Storm Cloud Marketing. Well, no, that is because so Storm Cloud bought that building, which is Dustin Storm, and they have a marketing company, and he bought that building that's next to what you're talking about.
Okay.
And then upstairs where the Ugly Fox is, that he rents out to Tucker.
Cool.
So yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
But like some of the stuff, it was owned by a bank. Because this is after, you know, Coke had moved out of it.
Right.
The bank owned it, and they were wanting to sell it and just wanted to get it presentable, you know, because it had been vacant for a while. And, like, we climbed up in attics, holes, it was like a maze that never ended, you know.
Yeah.
But we found, like, old checks from, like, the Coca-Cola company from, like, the 40s and 50s.
Wow.
Like old bottle caps, like the metal bottle caps, boxes and boxes full of them.
Really?
And
try to sell them?
What we did at the end, because they had a bunch of other stuff, we got a bunch of like scrap material, like old metal poles and stuff they wanted, you know, thrown away. And we loaded this trailer up and we took it to the scrap yard, it was pretty like 2 or 3 blocks away, so it wasn't too bad. But there was me and then 3 of our employees we had with us, you know, and they're on the clock. And the time that it took for us to drive there, unload everything, and then, you know, we got done and went back, it cost us like 3 or 4 man hours.
Oh, right.
And all the money we got for the scrap went to that.
Oh.
So it was pretty much pointless, but it had to go somewhere, you know.
Right.
We thought we hit the jackpot.
Right,
and they gave us the ticket for the amount they were giving us. It's like, oh, man.
Well, you know, and I don't think you're alone in that because I don't know if it's because when we were growing up or what, but I heard a lot about people scrapping metal and making like
a living. Some people make a living.
Yeah. And I've done it 2 or 3 times now, and every time just literally like wouldn't even pay for a hamburger at a restaurant. You know, I'm like, what? How do people live off this?
Yeah. You got to get like certain things.
Types of metal.
Yeah. Copper's, you know, pretty good, copper wire, but you got to have a lot of it.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And then like air conditioners, they have certain parts that are, you can get like $100, $200.
Oh, that's cool.
Catalytic converters on cars.
Okay.
I saw something on the news recently, within the last month or two, where like they're wanting to push some legislation through that would require the scrap yards, you know, to get more personal information for the people that are bringing stuff in, because people will go through parking lots and like get up under a car and cut off like the catalytic converter real quick, you know, 5 or 10 minutes, and take them and sell them for $200 at the scrap yard, and you can't, you know, drive without
that screw the car up like completely.
It has something to do with like emissions, controlling emissions and stuff.
So it'll still run, but it's just gonna kill the planet quicker.
I don't know if it'll run or not.
Oh, okay.
That's beyond my knowledge level.
Yeah,
but
definitely
I know,
not an automotive person.
Yeah, you don't want, if it does run, you don't want to be running it.
Right.
Or
It
be
still
breathing the
runs.
air around it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we went to, I think it's called like American Metal or something, right on 7th.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, the tornado didn't go through there, but they redid. Did a fire happen?
It burnt down.
Yeah, okay, a fire happened.
Yeah.
And they repaved everything.
Yeah.
It's a really nice area. I
It
really
is.
like that
They
place.
came up.
Yeah, they came up.
That's
They
some
used their
insurance
insurance money
Yeah.
wisely.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went through and we tried to scrap a car, and we had to have what do they call that? The title.
The title.
Had
Yeah.
all. I mean, maybe that's standard, but man, there was like a list of crap we had to have:
Wow.
name, address, title, all that kind of stuff. Which I guess makes sense with a car.
Yeah. In case it's stolen.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
stuff
Just
like
it almost makes me want to like try an experiment, just like
Yeah.
steal a car and try to scrap it. Just
Yeah.
like, no. This is a 2018 Escalade.
Yeah.
Yeah, scrap it. Come on.
It's mine. I just lost the title in my move. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I swear
Why
runs.
does it say #1 mom on the back?
Yeah.
Because I am
Yeah.
#1 mom. Yeah, I don't know. I've never made any good money off scrapping metal.
I think it's just something you got to do so much of, like
Right.
constantly. Be
Honestly,
taking stuff in.
I think that is the philosophy of life. That is like number 17 on the philosophy of life.
Yeah.
I think that is something that, as even now, I have 50,000 ideas a day, and I'm like, man, that would be cool if we could do that. But the idea is so tempting. But if you follow it, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think Casey does that a lot too, where he's like, let's see, like what was his last one? Oh, his last idea was property management. What was that called? Property management, something property management type thing.
Yeah.
So that similar to like what you were doing with the building, cleaning it out to get it ready for sale. There's a house that's been repoed. There's a house that's getting ready to be sold or put on the market, and say a storm comes in and blows a tree over. And it's like, well, we have people coming in to look at that next week.
Yeah.
They would hire Casey out to go over there, clean it up and everything.
We actually work for some property managers, and like they'll cover everything. You know, if it's drywall, heating and air, you know, they have their network of contractors that they use, you know, and the property owner will kind of, you know, set up a contract agreement, you know, with them, and anything that needs done, they're like a one person you got to call, and they'll take care of everything. You know, they'll call us up if it needs cleaned.
Oh, right.
If there needs to be like plumbing repairs before we go in and clean, they have a plumber that'll come in.
Oh, cool.
It's a good business, which I've kind of like one of my more long-term, you know, goals that I'd like to get into is real estate.
Right. Owning, renting, flipping,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
Which I could get into that for days.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's another one of those things where it seems like easy money, but like it's a long time and a lot of foundational work.
It's a long-term. Rental properties are a long-term investment, and it really comes down.
You sound just like Dave Ramsey.
Oh man.
And
I'll tell you.
I could see it coming out of you.
I listen to a little bit of Dave Ramsey when I'm working on the podcast. He kind of has one viewpoint, but another guy I'm a big fan of, his name's Robert Kiyosaki. And I know I've talked to Casey and Dylan, you know, when they come over, I've probably told them the same thing 20 times, you know. But it's like eye-opening when you hear their way of thinking.
Right.
Like, you know, we get, your average Joe gets mad that rich people pay very little in taxes, you know. But the thing is we can go by the same rules as they do. It's just you got to know how to do it. And it's from structuring your companies the right way, you know, understanding your tax, you got to have a team. You can't, you can do it by yourself, but it's just so much different information, so many different areas. But like a tax person, you know, to help you, you know, put your money in the right places, because it's all about being on paper. Like Robert Kiyosaki, he's big on, like, he suggests making yourself, your personal income, like make you look poor, you know, so you pay less taxes, and just all your assets that you own, keep them in businesses. Because a business has a lot more ability to write off a tax amount, you know, than personal income.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I think I've listened to 3 or 4 of his audiobooks right now, Kiyosaki. because we have a lot of free time at work when we're
Yeah.
working.
That's one huge perk.
Oh yeah, and I mean I've been using Audible 3 or 4 months now.
You a platinum listener?
I'm not. I'm
Probably
at
a
the entry
gold.
level. I should be, because I use my 1 credit a month on a book,
Yeah.
and then halfway through the month I need another one.
Yeah.
And you're like, on my plan the credit's like $14.99 a month.
Yeah, same.
But if you don't have a credit,
The books
you got to pay like $30 for an audiobook.
Do you
insane.
hop on to Audible, like the website, every once in a while?
Usually when I buy a book, that's
Sometimes
usually
they
what I
have
do.
flash sales for
I
credits.
get emails.
Okay, so like I remember
About
in the
those.
past I've bought like 3 or 4 credits at a time for like $20.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like they just kind of come through every once in a while. It's like, hey, today we'll give you 4 credits for $20 or something.
Yeah.
So then you can really
Just stock up
is
on
your
them.
wish list pretty stacked? I think that helps.
I'll tell you what I add books on there.
Yeah.
There's one by Jordan Peterson.
12 steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one.
I'll let you borrow that one if you want.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's on there.
Great book, by the way.
Chinko.
Hmm?
Chenko.
Django?
What's his name? Chinko Malinovic, I believe.
Is that a basketball player?
No, he's a. I mean, he writes. He's an author. He's got a big podcast. Like, I know you'll know who I'm talking about once you see it. Chenko.
Not even close to spelling his name right. Is that him?
His book is called Extreme Ownership.
Oh, Jocko.
Jocko. Very similar.
Jocko Willick. I'll let you borrow that one too.
Chinko Malinovic. Maybe that needs to be my alias.
I might have to use that for the Instagram video of this podcast.
Yeah.
No, I won't. Yeah, the, Extreme Ownership.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's on there also.
Really, really good book. I'll get you both of those books after the
Sweet.
podcast. Yeah. I've listened to them both, and they are fantastic.
I know those are the two, like the top 2 on there. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mm-hmm.
You see him. He's big on Facebook.
Okay.
But he has a book, which they're all kind of along the same lines.
You're right.
I don't know if you want to call it motivational, but just
Not quite self-help, but yeah. I get
You know what I mean?
motivational. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
advice.
Right.
Right. Their perspective on how
Right.
to handle things.
They're successful, and
Yeah.
this is why.
But back to like Dave Ramsey and
Mhm.
Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki, he's big. He has his original book was called Rich Dad,
Oh yeah.
Poor Dad.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. It's on the shelf.
And now he's got a company, like a nonprofit company he runs, and their big mission is educating people what they can do with their money, to make it go farther.
Cool.
Investing strategies, stuff like that.
Right.
And they're big on, like, he's pro debt, right? Dave Ramsey is all about getting out of debt
Yeah.
and using cash to buy everything.
Right.
And that's an opinion, if that's you, by all means. But Kiyosaki's big on utilizing debt, using other people's money, essentially,
Right.
to grow your wealth, right?
Right. Right.
So say, a rental property, and starting off, if you don't have the access to capital, to money,
It's tough.
you got to start small.
Right.
I mean, you have to, unless you know somebody with millions of dollars that's willing to lend it to you.
Right. Right.
But he's big on using debt to buy an asset
Mm-hmm.
to generate cash flow. That's what it's about. Like, you go buy one house and you get a tenant in there and they're paying you the rent. So you have cash flow now. And instead of just using that money to spend and live on,
Mm-hmm.
You put it back into your debt, pay off some of your debt to where you get enough equity in that house, and then go back to your bank and buy another
Oh,
house.
okay. Right.
And once you get 2 or 3, and you establish a relationship with your banker, they'll give you more lines of credit,
Right.
essentially, and it just snowballs. And so long as you stick to the plan,
Right.
it's
It's important.
easier said than done.
Yeah.
But you got to, as long as you follow the rules, and the steps, you're supposed to be rich, I guess.
I mean,
what they say.
if you follow that logic far enough and nothing too crazy happens, that it eventually will lead to that.
Yeah. It's
that
like
place.
he's talked about in some of his books, like he's
pull that right. See how it's pointed? Wherever
I
it's
gotcha.
pointed. Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. There you go.
just looking at it like this.
Yeah, there you go. Just make out with it.
But he's he's talked about, like, he's $350 million in debt.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know, that sounds
that
like,
was
oh my
bad.
God. But when you have, you know, 500 million in assets that create, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in revenue every month.
Right. So his overall
debt's
net
not hurting
worth, so just for whatever, 500 million assets, $350 million debt, he's still worth more than what he's in debt.
Yeah.
If the banker was like, I need my money now,
Yeah.
he could still pay it off.
And it's about
Lose
like
assets, I guess.
you have, say you got, you know, $1 million in debt.
Right.
It's broken down. You have your monthly payment, quarterly, however it's structured, you know. Like say you have $1 million in debt and you bought this $1 million property, but you only have to pay $1,000 a month.
Right.
You know,
For 600
theoretically.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, your goal should never be to pay off the debt. You know, take as much debt as you're allowed to have from the bank and put it into assets. And where you make the money is the cash flow you're making off the assets. You know what I mean? And you take that cash flow, make your monthly debt payment, and then whatever you have left is your operating expenses to, you know, enhance your properties, buy more properties, you know. And he's big on also like your vehicles, you know, keep all of your expenses under your, like, have your business or your vehicle owned by the business, not in your personal name.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that way, all your payments, all your gas, you know, all of your
Write-offs.
expenses
Right.
go into your business.
Okay.
Because see, like you and I on our 1040 or whatever we file, you know,
Right.
at tax time, we can't write off, you know, office expenses, paper supplies, you know,
Right.
advertising, you know, that's got to stick under the business
Right.
entity, you know. So that's kind of his philosophy. And I mean, like I said, I could talk about this for days.
Go for it.
Um,
I know we got 2 hours, but go for it.
like in Rich Dad Poor Dad, he breaks it down. There's 4 quadrants on this chart, right? And one quadrant, there's B, E, S, and I quadrants. The B is the like big business owner, and those are people that, you know, started a business and grew it into like Amazon, yeah.
Tamco, yeah.
Like, you know, a small business and you build it into a big business. In the B quadrant, like say I'm a business owner, if I'm in the B quadrant where the business is big enough, you basically have all the other smart people, you know, with degrees running your business and you're just kind of there making the management decisions, you know.
Right.
Like in the B quadrant, I can take off a month and go travel the world and the business will still run like a well-oiled machine, you know. So you got the E quadrant is employee. And those are people that earn payroll, you know, have a job, their payroll taxes are taken out. And that's basically your one source of income, like your paycheck, your wages. Then your I quadrant is your like investor, where say you own, you know, $10 million in real estate, you earn a living from the money you make on that. You don't work a 9 to 5, you know. So you got your B, E, I, and then S, which is like your self-employed small business. And your S quadrant, like in our case, we can take like a week or 2 off, you know, but we can't take off for a month.
Can't run away to Europe.
Yeah, we don't have a bunch of office people running our business for us, you know. And each quadrant, like the people in each quadrant have, you know, if you're an employee, you're probably an employee because you want financial security. You know, all you want is enough money to pay your bills, you know, earn a living,
Like
health insurance,
stability.
You know. Yeah.
You know.
And then that's what you want.
Right.
Like your I quadrant, they want the freedom, you know, to be like on their own, not have to answer to a boss, you know.
But not necessarily shoulder the burden of the employee or the big business. They're just like, here's the cash, make it happen.
Which, like, if you own, you know, a bunch of property, you can either hire a property management company to handle all the, you know, maintenance and stuff like that, or you can do it on your own.
Right. But it takes a cut out of your profit.
It does.
Yeah.
It's, I want to say anywhere, which it depends on the type of property and everything, but it's like 6 to 8 to 10%.
Oh, I thought it was
of
50, 60%.
If you get up, from what I've heard on podcasts and stuff, like resorts, if you have a big group of investors that own a resort and they hire a property management company, it could be 50% because they're having to take care of lawns every day.
Okay, right. It's okay. That makes sense.
Volleyball courts, amenities. They got to care for the
houses
amenities.
around here. It's just like my refrigerator broke or something.
Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah.
What was so there was B, E, I,
and S,
which was like small business.
S.
So do you use that? Or you just kind of find yourself on that?
Essentially, it's just kind of a way to map characteristics, I guess. Like I said, like he's got the Rich Dad series. There's 8 or 10 books that I know of off the top of my head. Yeah, that
are all Rich Dad.
Yeah,
Poor Kid or Poor Dad.
Which there's, I mean, he hits different angles in it. Like, Rich Dad Poor Dad was kind of the base. Yeah. Like he talks about
it's like the classic.
Yeah, the very first one.
Right.
Which it's about. He has a rich dad and a poor dad. What he says, like his poor dad was his real dad. He had like a PhD. He was a professor, but just worked for the system. The machine.
Right.
Like the educational machine, worked for the state, but never got rich. Because he, in schools we don't learn how to maximize your profits.
Right.
You don't learn how to invest with a tax strategy, that you're allowed to do with the tax code.
Right.
Like it's kind of like, I mean, rich people don't want everybody to know how to get rich. You know, it's kind of like
there has to be an imbalance.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you have like his poor dad was his real dad. And then his friend, like his best friend, his dad was rich, the rich dad, big investor, So he kind of talks about the difference in, methodology and philosophy towards money, and he learned a lot of his money strategies from his rich dad. And that's just kind of where it all starts off.
And his book sold millions of copies and he became rich.
Yeah. He, it's been on the top, bestsellers list. Yeah. And then he talks about New York Times, I think.
Yeah.
One of the publishers that put out the list, they took him off.
Oh.
And he still sells, like, he thinks anyways, like if he were to still be on the list, he'd still be up at the top.
Right.
He's like the #1 financial advice book. And I listened to probably 4 or 5 different podcasts on real estate type of things. And every one of them talk about like he's a staple figure.
Wow.
In learning about real estate investing and stuff like that.
Wow.
But he calls like your traditional, like your Dave Ramsey's, he calls them managerial capitalists. Those are people that say, get out of debt, diversify your, retirement funds between bonds, gold, and all that stuff.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. He's kind of getting into the Bitcoin or crypto arena.
It'd be interesting to hear his opinion on that.
He's open, he sees like with blockchain and everything, the pros to it. He's talked about investing, like in Ethereum and stuff.
Be a good one. Hurting right now, but
yeah,
be all right.
Oh man, I've pulled out for a minute just to kind of wait.
Yeah.
See, hopefully it bottoms out pretty soon. But
yeah, let's hope so.
He's got kind of the older mentality, but he's still open to it. Like the other day, I was listening to his podcast. He does a weekly podcast. Him and his wife and some of his team members. Like he'll tell you he's not really knowledgeable on this stuff, but he brings in his tech people that work for his company, and they kind of provide their input.
So he's not just an author.
Oh no,
he's really doing this stuff.
Oh yeah. I know he started off, he talks about like he worked for Xerox back in the day.
Wow.
Before he got rich. That's how he started off making money and stuff. And then, started investing it. And, like bought his first high rise for $18,000, like with a credit card, for his down payment.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But it's really like eye-opening when you learn about it, because we're taught, to you make your budget and you live off what you have, and that's it. Whereas he kind of gives you the information that you need to, like what you need to do to grow that, put that money somewhere in an investment,
Right.
To grow it. Which is another big thing. Like when you own a home, a lot of people will consider that as an asset,
Mm-hmm.
but really it's a liability, because an asset, as he defines it, is something that generates money,
Right.
Adds money, whereas a liability costs money.
Right.
And if
Call
you,
it the money pit, don't they?
yeah,
Yeah.
like if you own your home that you're living in, it's not generating any revenue.
Right.
You're paying on it.
Yeah.
You pay to care for your lawn and
Right.
Upkeep and maintenance and stuff. It's only an asset when you go to sell it, and then you make money, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So like he's big on your personal, like owning a home and a car, keeping it minimal. Don't, I mean, you can if you want
No
to go
Lambos.
fancy. Yeah.
Damn it.
But, and just invest in assets that'll generate revenue.
Right.
Um,
Isn't it Ramsey that says like, live like no one does today, so you can live like no one does tomorrow, or something like that?
Yeah.
Here I go again with quotes.
which there's in his opening on his podcast, he talks about, he's like, where the paid off mortgage is the cool thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yeah. But yeah, there's two, like, pretty much polar opposite ways to look at it. You got
Right.
the Dave Ramsey view, get out of debt,
Yeah.
put your money in the IRA and the stock markets. That's what Kiyosaki, he doesn't mess with the stock market because it's, volatile, risky. People can make money if you know how to do it,
But it's not one of those things where if you spend all your time, you're gonna have a way better chance of making money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know shit about the stock market.
Well, and today, like, with all the technology they have supercomputers that
Right.
make thousands, if not million, I don't know, but a lot of trades,
Right.
high volume trades. And it's hard for somebody sitting at their computer at home
To compete with those?
To compete with it, yeah. But you could still, I mean, if you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you put in the time and learn the system, because there's technical trading. People can look at a graph, the line graph of the value.
Candlesticks.
Yeah, exactly, and can have ideas on how to predict what it's going to do, when
Right.
to buy, when to sell.
Right.
Which I've kind of watched a few tutorials over that.
Yeah.
But it's just not something I can get passionate about and dedicate.
It takes a lot of time.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm not brave enough, especially with Bitcoin and crypto. Like, I'm not brave enough to put in buys and sells, limit buys and sells.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. My worst fear is putting in a buy at, say, 10,000, and then it just trickles up to 10. It hits 10, and then it's like, nope, just kidding.
Back down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what sucks with it being so volatile. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's good
you can
because
go to bed.
Oh God, going to bed's the worst.
You go to bed and it's, say 10 grand,
Yeah.
and you wake up and it's 8.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
So depending on where you were, I mean, but that could be awesome too. So if you're like
Yeah.
right before bed, hey, I'm going to sell, and you wake up and it's 8, and you buy back. Well, you just made, if you had one Bitcoin, you just
Yeah.
made 2G right
Oh,
there
yeah.
in 2 clicks.
Yeah.
I mean that's the best case scenario. And
And the first time that does happen and you get a taste of the blood,
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, I'm on. you
yeah,
know?
right.
I'm a pro now.
Yeah.
And
What do you do?
Yeah.
I trade crypto.
yeah.
It's like Caleb saying, I think it was his aunt from his wife's side, Courtney's side. She's like asking, like, what have you been doing these days? And he's like, I'm an entrepreneur. Because you're unemployed. It's like, no, Caleb, you got a job.
Yeah.
He got lucky. He's good at what he does.
I haven't seen him in a while. I saw him back at Brad's wedding, I think in December.
Yeah, he
Something like
DJ'd that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he comes down lately. He's been, let's see, probably since March. He comes down from Derby and comes down for 3 or 4 days at a time. And what that started that out was in December, I saw John Barry, the chairman of Downstream, in Red Oak. And every time I had seen him come into Red Oak, I always would have the idea, or like I'd see him in the hallway or something. I'd always be like, hey, we need to do a documentary. Like I got a good idea for a documentary. And then just that night, I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna talk to him. So of course, as soon as I talked to him, he's like, oh my God, let's have a meeting and everything. So that spurred this whole thing. And I said, telling Caleb about it, I'm like, well, if it does happen, let's practice with this equipment as much as we can. So that when we sit down in front of John Barry, we're not, bamboozling over our cameras. So anyway, so when that all started rolling and happening, he started coming down from Derby, and that's when we started shooting Ugly Fox stuff because it was a nice big open area. It's like a studio, and the lighting in there is great because they have all those bulbs above the barbershop.
Oh yeah.
And Tucker's a character, so and he didn't care, and he loved it, and he got free press and videos and photos and stuff. So he's been doing that. In fact, he's going to come down tonight, and a lot like what you and Grant said you did as far as going out, trying to find, just getting your name out there, just taking jobs, whatever they were. Like that's kind of where we are now. So we controlled a little bit as far as we don't just take everything. I'm not saying you did, but you don't just take everything. I asked Caleb, like, what are you interested in? Like, he goes, well, I like golf, I like hunting, I like waterfowl. It's like, okay, well, let's gear our content creation towards that stuff, so that we attract that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, let's not do weddings, because that's just going to attract more weddings. Someone's going to see it and be like, that was great. Will you do mine? You know, we want to do, say, like for waterfowl. Let's his parents breed Labradors for waterfowl retrieval. Like, well, let's film that, and then when someone sees that, they'll be like, hey, follow us when we go hunting. Like, great, this is how much we'll take, and then that kind of snowballs in that direction, because a lot, like you said, as far as cleaning, there are like niches within the whole community, and you can get caught up in those, especially with the video. Like, you get to pick at some point, but like you can also get sucked in to something you don't want to do
and you don't enjoy.
No,
and it just focus where you're going to get the higher return. And that may not be money. So much, but enjoyment and your passion and your commitment to put time into it.
Well, it's easy. I mean, I'm sure you've done jobs before that you hated to do, and it's harder to do. It takes up more energy. It takes up more time. But if you're enthusiastic about it and you do find pleasure in it, it's just that much easier.
It makes it all the better.
Not that it's any easier in the long run as far as like the overview. Like, it's still work. Like, still you gotta work hard.
You just enjoy the time.
It's a little easier stride for sure. But yeah, he's doing good. He should be editing right now.
I like the content, man. You guys are making. That's
thanks,
awesome.
man. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, with Facebook marketing, it's not about just making your standard commercial.
Right.
Like, and you can tell which companies out there get it and which are still kind of behind the curve.
Right.
Some people just put out your traditional videos saying, hey, we have this product. It's on sale for $19.99, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's more like the engaging content. It could have nothing to do with the product or service you're selling, but it's just getting people there and seeing your brand, like with his videos. Like, when Grant and I are on the highway driving, if we see a new one, we'll just watch it for,
You talking Tucker?
Almost, for Ugly Fox, I mean, we'll just watch it for the entertainment, And it's
Well, I mean, he's easy. He's so easy to film because Tucker.
Yeah.
He's a character in his own right. Yeah. I mean, you could make a reality show, and I've tried to follow him around. And the way that they did the fox, or he did the fox, and the fox is not just him. The fox barreled out of his hands about the time that he signed that lease on that upstairs. It was his idea, but it's just gone so far, and there's so many people involved. Like Caleb and I take care of a lot of the content. Matt Maxwell decorates the whole place. He didn't just go like ape shit wild like Tucker did have his input, but it's gotten so big and everything. So it just makes it easy. You just point the camera and it's interesting,
Just and record.
And there's 1, 2, 3. There's going to be 4 barbers in there by 2019, and probably fill out the whole place. So it's like cool. It's growing. Yeah, it's a cool place to be. Have you ever got the haircut there before?
Not at this location. Okay. But it's a while back, but I did have him hook me up one time. We had a meeting like the next day. And,
nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. You gotta look. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. He's good for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cool because it's not like static. It's not like, the barbershop's done and that's all we're gonna do. No, it's like every day the scenery changes, because Matt Maxwell, who does the decoration, he has like I guess what you call like an antique. Not a shop, like an antique company where he buys and sells and restores things.
Sure.
So he's using that space as like a retail shop.
Okay.
So like when you walk up and you see the couches and you see the decor and all that kind of stuff. It's all for sale.
Oh wow.
And so, and a lot of it gets bought, and so it rotates the look.
Yeah.
So every time you kind of
Keeps it
come up,
fresh.
it does. It keeps it fresh, and so
Yeah.
you come up, and it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Week by week, it's actually been pretty successful as far as I can tell,
That's
because
cool.
there's a lot of furniture that I don't remember seeing.
Where'd this come from?
Exactly. But it's a cool concept. So
Yeah.
it makes the barbershop in so many ways, gives it that rustic, awesome feel, but also it's pushing product for Matt, so
Yeah.
it's really cool. But Tuck's easy to film.
Yeah.
You just turn the camera on.
That makes it all the easier
Yeah.
when it's that way. Yeah.
And plus the team that he's got, Preston's getting ready to come up in there. He's at barber school right now.
Really?
Yep. And
Wow.
I think Preston's the last one to come on. I think we filmed this AMA Ask Me Anything with all 4 of the barbers, and they had 2 of them there. That it was Preston and I don't remember the other gentleman's name, but that are in school right now, and within the next 6 months to a year they'll be at Ugly Fox.
Cool.
Yeah. And then they can start adding in different things, like not only haircuts, they can add in, I think Tucker said something about a waxing station
Yeah.
for men. So as far as like nose, eyebrows, things like that. And there was another thing I can't remember, but it was like an expansion. It's like phase 3 of Ugly Fox. First you have
Yeah.
the barber shop. Okay. Then we have our own space. Now we expand into like a gentleman's aesthetic, lounge or something, like selling cigars and drinking. I mean, you can always get a beer. He doesn't sell it, but he's
Yeah.
just like complimentary beer in the fridge.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, and that was
Yeah.
his goal the whole time, was a cool hangout spot, talk shit. Not that women aren't allowed, but it's more of a guy's spot.
Yeah.
A lot of moms come up there and they bring their sons or whatnot, but it's more of way more a dudes area.
That's like when it comes to, competition with other barbers. I mean, that's something that would probably be, set you apart.
Oh, there's not a spot like it in
experience,
Joplin
you
at
know.
all,
Yeah.
And that's why I keep wanting to call him Dusty, but it's not Dusty. It's he's gonna kick me in the nuts for not remembering his name. But that's why Imperial Barber. I remember his Instagram thing. That's why Imperial Barber came over from the place on Main Street by the Pizza King, Brush and Blade.
Yeah.
He used to work over at the Brush and Blade, and then he saw kind of what Tuck was doing. He's like, I want to work there,
Yeah.
And the client, he's got all this clientele that just comes right over to the Fox.
Wow.
And so now, Caleb and I got him set up with an online thing. I can't remember the program's name, but you can get your it's your scheduling all online.
Yeah. The booking.
The booking,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to like call him, because he was getting calls. He's getting like 60 calls a day. He
my.
can never catch up with his text messages. People were like, "Oh, can I get in this time? I got to switch."
Yeah.
So we got him hooked up with that scheduling app, and not only did it help him time manage, but it also shows everything that he offers, is where it's a beard trim, a beard cut. There's one called like executive cut, and it gives you a nice description, how long it's going to take, all the money. So it's all taken care of. It's just all streamlined. And so when Imperial Barber came on, it added another dimension, because people that didn't know Tucker or the Ugly Fox, now they're coming up there.
Yeah.
And then with that scheduling app, if one is booked up, a lot of times they just go with the other guy.
Yeah.
And so now they're kind of swapping clients and stuff. So it's
Kinda
been,
help fill in each other's free time. or
exactly,
downtime, yeah.
exactly. And they both have a little bit of a different style. They can do everything the other can do, but they both do have like a unique style. So if you've been going to Tucker this whole time and you flip flop, you're going to get a little different look, and people like that. So
Yeah.
it's just a cool place. It really is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool to watch him come up.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like just from 2 years ago or so,
Right.
starting off there, and then where it's at now.
I mean,
That's awesome.
he was in the place on Main Street, quick cuts or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's surrounded by girls getting their nails done and perms and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, he really paid his dues. And then when that whole opportunity kind of came along, he really took advantage of it, and he had a lot of help get everything in line. But yeah, so far he's a pretty good entrepreneur.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's one of the crew, just like us. You know,
Yeah.
just trying to make it.
I'll tell you, it's cool, like, where we're at in life now, seeing your old high school friends, like, doing what they're doing now.
Yeah.
You know, whether starting a business, buying a building,
Yeah.
like your first one.
Yeah.
It's cool. We're not little kids anymore.
No, not
Like-
at all.
Life, we've progressed.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's inspiring to me. It's like a feedback loop. So like
Yeah.
I remember when you and Grant started American Standard, you would ask, where these fucking ants coming from? You'd ask Kelsey to kind of like look over this logo, and I was like, oh, you guys starting a business and everything? I thought that was so cool, and like the two of you doing it, and then to see how far it's come from just, you know, like I remember that first logo, you know, that dude that was like pushing a vacuum cleaner. That was crazy. And then now it's come so far. You guys are legit. Like you got shirts and you got polos and employees. To me, that's crazy. You got employees. You got like people that they depend on you, you know, sort of, I guess.
Yeah.
You have a kid too. So like maybe you're used to it. Like she depends on you.
Yeah. Which that's, man, I tell you, leading up to her birth, you don't know what to expect, you know. You can prepare yourself as much as you want, but until you see them, like when I saw her for the first time, it's just like a natural instinct, like a switch flips, and it's like you know what to do. I mean, it's always a learning process, you know, especially your first time. But yeah, definitely, I'd say my employees are just as needy.
Right.
Maybe not on as much of a frequent basis, but yeah, it's always, you know, something you got to tend to in both aspects.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the thought of having a kid right now scares the shit out of me. In fact, someone Katie had a baby. Katie knew Kelsey's little sister.
Yeah.
And we were at church and someone kind of came up to Kelsey and I like, well, when are you going to have a baby? And her mom, Susan, is like, they just birthed a building. So that's what they're going to be doing for a while.
That's your baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, one of these days, but I mean, is it tough in the sense of like balance? Like right now, I feel like my life is like at 99% bandwidth, and I can't imagine having. Yeah.
Which the older, like her first 9 months to a year, when they're just like really, they need you constantly.
Right.
It's really stressful, especially when you're trying to balance out work, and you have a meeting pop up, you know, just kind of out of the blue.
Right.
You got to find a babysitter, you know, and that's, or if a babysitter's sick, you know, last minute, that's, oh man, like that's the probably most stressful part of it.
Babysitters.
Yes.
Find a babysitter.
Outside of the waking up every 2 hours when they first come home, you know.
That's true.
Oh,
that part's.
man. Yeah. Which that first few nights we were home, you know, we tried to go like breastfeeding route. And that's really dependent on the mother's ability, you know, to produce enough milk. And some do and some don't, you know. It's like, I don't know what they did 100 years ago before formula was around, you know.
Right.
But like we couldn't get her to eat enough, and we were freaking out because she was crying constantly. So we called the doctor, and they're like, well, you know, you can supplement with a bottle when you can't produce enough. Yeah. And we didn't want to use formula. We wanted to go the natural route, but I mean, at some point you got to feed your baby, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that was one of the first like testing points for us, you know, as first time parents. But then we just went with a bottle, you know, it's just so much easier. It's just, I mean, it provides the nutrients, you know. We felt bad at first, you know, and the nurses and stuff, they do a good job at trying to make you understand, like, look, this is just something you can't control. Right. You know, don't feel bad about yourself. You're not a bad parent, you know. Right.
No, you're actually a good parent by doing that.
You got to feed them. Right. But yeah, they wake up. It was kind of like the first month or two. I mean, you'd feed them every 2 hours. Yeah. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Jeez. Somebody's got to wake up. Yeah. And it pushes you, you know, to the limit. Yeah. On your nerves and stuff, but it helps you just build the character, you know. Right.
Like you're in boot camp for parenting.
Yeah. And it's stressful especially when you don't get much sleep, you know, on top of it. But yeah, but as they get older, you know, they sleep longer.
Right.
It gets more fun.
Right. Now you're at a good spot. Like I think you're at the spot of where like fathers in the past would take over.
Yeah.
Like they
this is where it's fun to step in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The infants are left with the women, you know, they're feeding them and everything. But like once they start walking and like you can take them hunting, that's like, okay, come on, boy, you know, or a girl or whatever, you know.
But she's at the point now where we're approaching the terrible twos.
Oh, okay.
She's learning how to have an attitude,
like
and
to say no and
okay. When you're in a store
Uh-oh.
and she does not want to ride in the shopping cart, she knows she can scream at the top of her lungs, you know, and you got to do something, you know. Usually give in and let her push the cart.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's...
How do you combat that? Do you just do you just let her scream and just stare at her and be like, are you done? But that's got to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's got to be terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I usually try and keep my cool, try and get her to calm down.
Right.
Maybe compromise with her, you know, you can walk, but you got to hold my hand type of thing.
Because you don't want to be like mean. Like you don't want to be like, don't scream.
Part of you just wants to go batshit crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's going to be like a nice balance. Because like, especially like fathers, there's probably like a thin line of being like too strict or whatever, where it's like scary.
Yeah.
Like dads can be scary.
Oh yeah. There's times, you know, I usually try to be calm with her, and you know, she's doing something she's not supposed to start off by talking with her and telling her no. But if she persists, there's a point where you gotta, you know, put your foot down.
Yeah.
And raise your voice, and then man, it breaks your heart.
Right.
Because it'll scare them, and then they'll just like kind of make the teary face and then start crying. And you're like,
right.
I gotta be strong.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like everything that you've learned from parenting, like, do you reflect on your upbringing, like of how you were?
In a sense.
Does it make more sense?
Yeah. You know, the when you got in trouble as a kid and you didn't think it was fair, you know, you see the parent's perspective in that situation now. It definitely, like, applying it just to life in general, you know, with work or whatever, it's helped me, you know, have more patience towards things. When things are kind of hectic, you know, it's easier to stay focused, you know, now than 2 years ago.
Right.
Keeping your cool and stuff in a intense situation, you know.
With a kid, or just like intense across the board?
Like if work is stressful and you got employees feuding or, you know, whatever. 2 years ago, I might have just wanted to pull my hair out, you know, and turn my phone off or something, but it's easier to handle now.
Right.
It's usually somebody just has to step in and calm the situation down.
Right.
You know, take a leadership role, kind of.
That's cool, because you're almost like doubling up, you know, as you're being a parent to your child, to your daughter, and then also like a parent to your business. Yeah. And a lot of those probably parallel each other. A lot of like the lessons learned, the challenges that are presented, you know, like they definitely have to feed back on one another. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can apply like what you learn from parenting, you can apply to everything else.
Right. Right.
It's all the stress and gray hairs that it provides. I mean, it's awesome. You know, like the first time I saw her, it was, like I said, just a switch flips, and you can prepare all you want, but that feeling you get when you know, finally see him for the first time, it's just like a natural, your instinctive role kicks in, and you may not know what to do consciously, you know, but you do the right thing. Right. You know, you do what you're supposed to.
Literal instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've heard people talk about they felt stoned, you know, they just get like a rush of like literally feel like there it comes, you know, like that's it.
Which, like in our situation, she woke me up that day. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and she thought her water broke, and I was still kind of half asleep, you know. I was like, oh, whatever, you know, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. So she let an hour or two go by, and she's like, no, like she woke me up, like it's real, you know. So we called the hospital, and they're like, yeah, come in. We get there at like 6:37 in the morning, and I think we were a few days past the scheduled due date. Okay. So we were kind of monitoring it, you know. If she didn't come within the next week, they're just going to take it. Yeah. Like, take her out.
Right.
But we're there, and the nurses even once we got checked in, they're like, I don't think it's your water broke, you know, but we'll go ahead and do the test. Like 20 minutes later, the nurse comes running in, hooking up all the IVs and everything. We're like, what's going on? She's like, yeah, you're pregnant, you know, or, you know, she's coming. Yeah. And
you're delivering.
So we sat there. We were there for 19 hours.
Oh.
Before she finally came. They got to a point where it just became, because after, I think, once your water breaks, it's like there's a 24-hour window that they have. And after so long, you know, an infection can come. Like bacteria will start to, you know,
colonize.
Build up. So at 11-ish o'clock at night, they decided they're going to do a C-section.
Oh, wow. And you've been there since 6?
Yeah, we're tired. She's hurting, you know, on a bunch of pain meds.
Yeah.
She didn't get the spinal tap or whatever. Epidural, yeah. They had her on pain meds, but once they decided they were going to do the C-section, they gave her like an epidural type of thing. And they took her down to the operating room, and I had to get scrubs on and everything to go in there with her. But I had to sit outside and wait, because they got her hooked up and got the operating room set up, you know.
For a C-section.
Yeah. And they had to make sure, because at that point, the medicine they gave her was kind of like an anesthetic, you know, kind of knocked her out. And they had to make sure everything was okay before they let me in there. And I think it might have been 5 or 10 minutes that I was sitting outside the room waiting, but it seemed like an eternity, man. And I'm just sitting there, you know, like freaking out. Yeah. My nerves, adrenaline's going by then. And I'm walking into the room. They escort me in there. And I'm just kind of like trying not to pass out or fall over.
Yeah.
And the way they got the table set up, like she's laying on her back, you know, and they have like a tarp type of thing, you know, a blanket put up, like where she can't see down, because there's a huge incision in her
They've already
stomach.
started?
Yeah.
Oh.
And like, I'm just sitting there not really knowing what to do. I got my phone ready for pictures, you know. Right. And I mean, the medical staff, they try to make you feel calm, you know, keep everything under control. And what was crazy, I remember like as they're cutting into her, she kind of like moves, like makes you know, like she felt something. And as soon as she did that, that doctor was like beeline to her and was like, did you feel that? You know, are you okay? So they gave her a little more medicine before they did anything else. And I'm just sitting there like shaking, holding my phone, like, oh my God, you know. And you hear the cry, like, and I'm looking over watching kinda, and it's gruesome, dude. Like I got a bunch of pictures. I think we were in there maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Right. And once I uploaded all the pictures to my computer, it's like 256 photos.
Wow.
I'm just like
just holding it down.
Yeah. And which we got a lot of cool photos. Most of them, you know, we keep to ourselves. Yeah. Like they're pretty, you know, gruesome. But it was just interesting to see.
Well, it's an experience that you both went through, you know.
Yeah. But that, like once I got, it was probably 10 or 15 minutes before I could hold her. You know, they clean the baby up and weigh her and all that stuff. But it was just, it's like the best natural high, you know, that you could ever imagine. And she was probably, like once we had the baby, I went with the nurse to go, you know, clean the baby up and wrap her up and, you know, get her ready for the new world. And it was probably, she was still probably out, Kayla was, for an hour, you know, till she finally came to. And of course, once we got in our room, they tried to give us some time to relax and enjoy the moment. But as soon as the family caught wind, everybody that was there, because they'd been waiting, some people had been there since the morning, you know. Yeah. They all came running in, and I mean, it's just a good time. Though, you know.
At that point, you know. Yeah. The deed is done. You got through it. Yeah. The traumatic event, you know.
Which we ended up staying. We had to stay there for another 3 days, I think.
Because of the C-section? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If she would have had it naturally, we could have been out of there, you know, the next morning. Yeah. I'm sure. But yeah, we ended up staying there.
Because that's a serious.
It is, man. It's a big cut, and you know they seal it up. They take all the organs they have to out. Like they don't remove them, but they just kind of pull them out aside, dude. And they're just sitting there. Yeah. While they're cutting the baby out and pulling the baby out. Jesus. Yeah, man.
No wonder dudes pass out.
Oh yeah. Like, and they were there. You know, one of the guys, techs that were in there helping or whatever, is kind of like there to make sure you don't fall over.
Oh really?
You know? Yeah. But they're cool.
And I shouldn't laugh because I'm gonna be just as shaky and everything.
Man, like, and when you first see them, dude, you just like, tear up.
Oh yeah,
You know,
can't
a flood of
imagine.
emotion.
Yeah.
Oh man, but it's awesome. It's been a blast. She'll turn 2 in July,
Oh wow.
and she's a big kid. She's
Yeah.
since every doctor visit we go to, she's 95th percentile.
Mhm.
One time she was in the 100th percentile
Wow.
of her height. She was chunky, but she's starting to get. She's a beanpole now.
Yeah.
But
Just
I
like
mean,
a dad.
Wears like 3T, 4T clothes.
Yeah.
And she's not even 2 yet.
3. I don't even know what that means.
Like a 3-year-old.
Oh.
3T, from my understanding, anyways. 3T fits like your average 3-year-old. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
3T. Okay.
Yeah.
And these are dad terms I don't understand.
Oh man. It's at first it's a learning process.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I can sit there and have a conversation with my fiance just about the ins and outs of
Right.
children's clothing and everything. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to all the help I can get from family. You know, like Kelsey got a big family. I got
And
mom and dad. So
It's a community effort.
Yeah.
You know, like they say, it really is. It takes a village to raise a child. It
Yeah.
does. Because there's times, I mean, you just need a break.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the beginning.
Right.
Like when it's just constant attention they need. And we have, like when we lived in Joplin, we lived about a mile away from her parents.
Mm-hmm.
So we always had them to watch her for a couple hours, you know.
Right.
To give us time to clean the house even. You know.
Wow.
Like that's a vacation.
It's cleaning the house.
When you have a babysitter to watch the kid and you can clean the house, that's a break, you know.
Oh wow. You
it's
don't think
adulting,
about
man.
that. Yeah, you don't think about
Oh,
those
no.
things. You know.
That's like, you know, I always knew, like growing up, I'd have children and a family.
Sure.
That was, you know, a goal and stuff.
Right.
But you can't put it into perspective, I mean, until it happens,
Mhm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you can prepare all you want and you could think you're 100% ready,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't, you know, feel it all the way until it happens.
Right. I mean, so
Yeah.
far on my life, I've been very wrong on everything that I thought it was going to be like
Oh, yeah.
wedding day, you know, graduation from
Yeah.
college and starting a business, all that kind of stuff where I thought, you
Mhm.
know, this is how it's going to be. Like
Yeah.
I've been so off every time.
yeah.
It's not even close.
That's like, you know, if you could change anything type of scenario. Like out of high school, I wish I didn't jump right into going to Pittsburgh. You
Right.
know? Like I just wasn't ready.
You were going to Pittsburgh while you were in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. All the weekends. I remember there was like a 4 or 5 day period where
Yeah.
we went on a college visits to KU and K-State
But you were at Pitt State the
Yeah.
whole time.
at your apartment. Living the dream.
God, I remember one time, I don't care if we reminisce at all, but I remember it's you, me, and Corey and Wes. Maybe Danny might have been there. And we were all in bed, like we were all in our sleeping spots. And it was actually a decent time. We would have got a good night of sleep. But you would not shut up.
Yeah.
And you kept hitting Wes with a pillow, and you kept keeping Corey awake, which kept me awake. Dude, I think we stayed up all night because you wouldn't let us
Oh, man.
sleep.
The times on, was it Pine Street?
I don't. That sounds
I think it
right.
was Pine.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I've lived on an oak and a pine. I think that was pine. Yeah. Which I remember even after that, like when I lived up there when I was actually going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we drove by those apartments,
Oh,
man,
God.
it's a flashback.
Dude, there was a lot that happened there.
Yeah.
I mean, while it was happening, you know, you don't really think about it until it's like, you know, we moved out, you know, Zeb left us
Yeah.
and all that stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. to
Poor
think
guy.
about. Yeah, sorry about that, Zeb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should have talked to me first, though.
Yeah.
Still a little bitter about that. Should have said something. You should have just sat me down and been like, listen, man.
You little shit.
Maybe you did. Maybe you did.
Yeah.
I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was good times though. It was really good times. I think I posted a picture the other day of the infamous shopping cart.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what the landlord's name was? Like David or Dan or
don't.
something like that. I remember like he was a douche. He's a super douchebag.
Yeah.
But remember we had it chained up. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
I wanted that to stay there. Like
Yeah.
I wanted that as a monument. And that fucking trash guy came by and he took it. I don't know what he did with the shopping cart or anything, but God, I was pissed.
Wasn't there one time, like, didn't somebody try and come up there and, like, take them from us, like the cans? Like, some guy trying to pick them up to recycle them for some beer money or something?
Oh, I'm sure.
Like
the whole thing was full.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we
Like
chained
somebody
it
came
up.
up and asked if they could have them, and we're like, no.
Yeah. You know how long it
No.
took us to do that?
Yeah.
One night. But still.
Yeah.
No, that was fun. That place was wild, you know, and it just reflected our this doesn't sound right, but I'm gonna say it like reflected our maturity level at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was fun, and we were just boys having a good time, and it was a opposite of rags to riches. You know, we were rich and we got to rag.
Yeah.
The parties, sad to say, I paid it back, so whatever. But like, we used our student loans to buy beer for everyone, which our
man.
parties were rocking.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly diminished and diminished and diminished
And
into
then you
like
have nothing left. It's
exactly.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And then I made the mistake of, well, I don't know how, I didn't really do it, but somehow, maybe it was like you guys, probably you guys, somehow got entwined with the Pittsburgh high school crowd. And they were like showing up. There's like probably like 4 or 5 of them that would kind of show up, which they were fine. I didn't mind them until they started like showing up all the time. Yeah. Like there was like a Sunday and they're like, "Hey, Colton, are you home?" And I was like sitting there like, "No, I'm not fucking home." You know, I couldn't tell them no, but I'm like, "No, like I'm not partying with high school kids." Like I don't know what you think this is, but yeah, that was weird. That was super weird. But so many good times. Like, God, Wes's stories. If I could get on the podcast someday, and he would, and he'd be willing to share some. Like, the baseball one is one of my favorites of all time. Where, you know, it started out with Wes and I. So Zeb moved out, and Wes was living in the dorms, and he wasn't really. He was friends with his. That was Andy. Remember Andy?
Yeah.
Andy was cool. The other guy, I guess, wasn't that cool.
Yeah.
And so Wes was wanting to get out, and so he kind of moved in. And then Corey moved in, and so they were staying in Zeb's room, and they helped out with nothing, and but it was fun to have them around.
Oh yeah.
And so we got in this routine where we would wake up, I'd go to class, Wes wouldn't, he'd just hang out with Corey, and then around 2:00, 3:00, we'd just take this long, awesome 2-hour nap, and they would ride out into the evening, and then we'd either party hard or we'd gather around with each other and drink beer or whatever, and then stay up real late and do it all over again. Like we got in this routine. Well, he kept skipping baseball practice, and he would keep making up these excuses. And
all
finally,
the funerals he went to.
yeah. Well, that's what it got to. First, it was, you know, I'm sick, I got homework, and then it was, well, they're not good enough excuses. So, you know, my grandma, I got to go visit her in the hospital. Well, the excuse ends up turning that the grandma passes away. Like, I'm sorry, my grandma passed away, and he doesn't go for day after day, week after week. Finally, when he gets back to baseball practice, they had got this huge card, like a construction paper card. And they had all signed it, and they had like, "Wes, we're sorry for your loss," and everything. And then it's all bullshit. You know, his grandma's fine. His grandma's doing fine. And he came home, and I just remember him being just pale. And he goes, "Man, I can't keep doing this." And I go, "What happened?" He showed me the card.
Oh my.
It's like, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. So, but then that ended up, you know, badly for both of us. I think he ended up leaving the baseball team towards the end of it all, and I think he lost a couple of credits on school, but he ended up going to Arkansas. You know, he and Brad flipped.
Yeah,
Brad finished at Pitt State, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he graduated there.
Yeah, and then Wes went to Arkansas and finished there. So, I mean, a lot of good times and a lot of bad times and a lot of in betweens, but it was fun. Monumental years for sure.
Was definitely a lot of life lessons. Learned. Sometimes the hard way.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever smoked weed. Was with Corey. And
really?
he had a bubbler, and I was super against it back in the day, but I wanted to be an actor, and I was like, well, I'll do it so I know how to act high.
Yeah.
And man, that bubbler just tore me up. I remember I couldn't get my head off the pillow, off my bed. I was just like, I kept trying, like, I got to get up. Oh my God, I can't get up. And then I think Wes had my guitar because I wanted to be a guitar player, and he was playing. He was just strumming it. And I'm like, man, he's so good. How is he so good? Do you practice? And that was a fun night. I did have on my laptop, I had an HP laptop. I turned on the webcam and I filmed the whole night. And I wish, I was so stupid. I was just embarrassed, so I deleted it. But I wish I still had that damn video, because we watched The Dark Knight and we were talking about it, and Wes was singing. I wish I could just see what Wes sang about. Yeah. It was a fun night. It's probably the reason I got an A on my art test the next day, my art final, because I was still a little stoned. I was like, yeah, I see it. It was crazy.
I remember the psychology class. This is when I was still a senior in high school.
Taisha.
Yeah. and I'd come up
Taisha
there.
Potter.
I ended up, that's who, when I remember I'd go to the class with you,
Yeah.
on the days I was up there.
Yeah.
And then that's who I actually took. I think it was second semester
Uh-huh.
of my freshman year. I had psychology with her, and it was like deja vu.
Yeah. Yeah. She was so cool. That's one class that I was like, I'm going to every
Yeah.
day. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm not missing this class, I'll miss politics. That was hardcore.
Yeah.
Bit me in the ass in the end. I had to take it
Mm.
again. But yeah, that class was so cool. I think she's still there too.
Is she?
I don't know. I mean, I think so. When I was there this past like a year or two ago, I kind of looked her up. I don't remember. Maybe I was trying to take a class from her or something because my minor was psych, and I heard someone say that she had some health problems.
I think, I remember seeing that a while
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if she overcame those or if she's still kind of dealing with them. Like, I know she's still around, but I'm not quite sure what she's doing.
Mhm.
But yeah, dude, Pitt it's so interesting because growing up at in Riverton, going to high school in Riverton, a lot of people would go to Pitt, and I always had these bigger aspirations, so I wrote it off like, no way am I ever going to go to Pitt. But all the time that I spent up there, it was always good to me. And it always has been good to me, whether it's just going up for fun. Kelsey lives there now, but, or not, Kelsey works there now, but just all the time I did spend up there and all the experience, it was like that town's been really good to me.
Yeah.
And Ugag, once a gorilla, always a gorilla, it's good stuff. But
Met a lot of good people.
Yeah. A lot of good people that, you still keep in touch with. You guys had the whole Ryan thing, their name escapes me now, but there was like a group when you lived in that house, like with Devin, right? Devin
Devin didn't live with us. He lived
just down the street, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He lived with our buddy Matt and him. At that time, it was me, Ryan Evans lived there. Our buddy Ross.
Ross,
and
that's what I was
then
trying to think of.
There was another Cody
Okay.
Hooper. He lived with us. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Ross. Like that whole crowd was cool,
Yeah.
And then there was Andy. Andy kind of showed up every once in a while, and Wes and his crowd. Like it was a good group of kids, of boys. And it's cool to see them all become something,
It was all worth it.
Yeah.
Regardless of how long it took.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, if I could go back, you get like the cookie cutter type stuff. So there is a roadmap in this society, and it's, you go to high school, you get the best grades you can. You get 2 months off of school, or if you can, you do some like AP classes in high school. So you're like a semester or two already, and then you go to college and, you get your bachelor's within the 2 or 3 or 4 years, and then you either you continue on education or you start your career and you get married, and then you have kids and then you elevate your career or you continually get your education. Like that's kind of the roadmap. Like that's if you don't know what to do, just do this.
Yeah. Good old American dream.
Good old American dream. Exactly. Yeah. The roadmap to the American dream. That's what you would do. And while it can be successful, it doesn't always fit everyone's profile. Like, for instance, you and I, we took a much different route. And while we've paid for it in certain ways, it's been beneficial in other ways. And, I think you just have to be true to yourself. And if that works for you, the American dream, great, go for it. I used to dog on it a lot.
Yeah.
I used to, fuck a 9 to 5, I ain't doing that and everything. But what a 9 to 5 provides, like we talked about earlier, it's pretty good stability.
Yeah.
It takes away a lot of the angst. Yeah, you got to deal with bosses and schedules and stuff, but in reality, that's your stability.
Yeah.
You
have that security.
Yeah.
You can be provided with what you need.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah, and if you can lock down something good, like a teaching job, like you got weekends off, right? You probably get your holidays off.
Summers off.
Yeah. Like for entrepreneurs such as ourselves, like that don't matter.
Yeah.
4th of July, maybe if like you got a nice established business, so I'm sure you could block some days off. But like when you're getting started or, hitting hard times, you don't get to take those days off, Who's going to cover you?
Yeah.
Nobody. You're at the helm of this thing.
Yeah. Like there's, some places like manufacturing places that they close for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and that's it,
Yeah, exactly.
And some places like this, what is it, Memorial Day, Monday? like we have off. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Heck
But
yeah.
not every holiday is like that.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. And sometimes, like you said, you can't take it off, or sometimes maybe you don't want to take it off.
Yeah.
You know, you want to keep working.
Yeah.
But that's what that stability offers is,
Mhm.
you know, when Memorial Day comes around, hey, you don't have to come in. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Personally, me, like, I love holidays and I love all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, this is not how, like, I'll work those for a while,
Yeah.
you know, to make something happen.
Work hard now.
Yeah.
You know, reap the benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
later.
Yeah. It feels worth it to me, you know. It feels,
Yeah.
part of it was when I was at school. So I came back from California and my dream had been shattered in ways, you know. It wasn't like dead, but it was dead in its own capacity. Like, it needed an update.
Yeah.
And it was a version 1.0 and it needed to be version 2.0. When I came back, I really didn't know how to update it. And so I'm like, well, I had a very deep value problem. Like, I didn't find value in what I was doing out there because there were so many people doing it.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like another minion, you know. So when I came back, I thought, okay, well, what does give value? And I thought biology gives value as far as like pharmaceuticals or pre-med, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought science in general, like, well, science gives people value, like the STEM, whatever. So that's why I studied biology. And then, like, as I get into it, yes, it's interesting. I really enjoy it. It's still part of my life now, but I knew it wasn't the right path. And the amount of suffering that I had to endure was astronomical. You went to school, you know.
Yeah.
And then that is kind of, you know, if I could sum all of those years of school, it was, you better pick something worth suffering for because you're going to suffer one way
Yeah.
or the other.
That's kind of how I felt. That's what really, I think, guided me to, you know, pulling out of school.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I finished school at Pitt, you know, I came back home and, you know, took a semester, a year off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started taking classes at Crowder while working, you know, and it's just like, what am I working towards?
Sure.
You know, I'm trying to get a business degree, but, you know, I had an internship in an office before, and it's just, a cubicle job just
Yeah.
isn't for me. You know, I
Right.
get bored, like, it's really, and I probably spent 2 or 3 years just kind of wondering, like, I wanted to do something on my own,
Mhm.
you know, but what it was, I hadn't figured out yet, you know.
Right.
And then Grant and I got this idea, hey, let's start a cleaning company. And
Yeah.
a few more months went by, and it was like, one day he up and went and done it, you know.
Yeah.
Got an account
sounds like
set
Grant.
up, bought the equipment, you
Yeah.
know, base equipment, and a couple weeks later, we agreed upon, you know, joining forces and went that route. And, you know, there's been times where it's like, if things didn't work out, what would I do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've thought about, you know, jobs and going back to school, but it's like,
Yeah.
man, that's just not.
Yep.
I mean, if push came to shove and I had to provide, I'd
Right.
do what I had to do, you know.
Right. What's good for you is you have a good support system.
Yeah.
You know, you have your wife.
Yeah.
You said fiance earlier. You guys
Fiance
getting
still-
married
Yeah, yeah.
soon?
No
or-
set date.
No set date. Okay.
See, we've been engaged.
Common law though. Married. Common law.
In July it'll be a year of being engaged, but
Okay.
August we'll be together 4 years.
Okay.
Which, like, before her, my longest relationship was
4
6
minutes.
months. You know, like, commitment. It's not that I was, you know, I was afraid of commitment itself, but it was just like
you weren't
finding,
true. You weren't really that.
just like, you know, when you find that person that you
Mhm.
do spend forever with, or however
Yeah.
long, you know, a long time, it just happens. You
Yeah.
know, it's like an organic
Yep.
relationship. You know,
Right.
and never, you know, I always knew I'd be in this position, have a family. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
just like picturing it, I could never see where it was going to be, and then it just
Right.
happened. Like Kayla, I met her when I worked at the hotel, and I trained her, you know, when she was new, and we worked together 7 or 8 months there,
Right.
you know, and then I went away and went to the cleaning full time, and then we started dating, you know, hanging out, going to the casino, just having fun, and
Mhm.
you know, it built from there.
It's cool. You
But-
guys seem like a good pair. You
Yeah.
know, you seem like you feed off each other really well.
We put up with each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's easy to forgive each other, you know, after
Yeah.
the arguments and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And like another thing with having a child, what taught me, like, before, I was always, you know, really selfish. You know, I
Yeah.
thought about things, how it
Right.
affected me, and that was it, you know.
Right.
and not like in a dangerous way to other people, but now the first concern for me is, my daughter. Like, if I make a choice, how's that consequence going to affect her and us, in a bigger picture? Yeah.
Right. Not necessarily just you,
Just me,
solely
yeah.
you. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met with Matt Darnaby. You know Matt Darnaby? Yeah, I met with him a couple of times. He was my church camp counselor, and so we had a relationship back in the day. And then as things, as I got older, I would every once in a while, I'd just kind of meet with him. He's a psychologist type kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I'd bounce ideas off of him, like, can you help me untangle this idea? And there was one time when I told him about moving back to California with Kelsey, and everything that I said was with I. Like, I want to move back with Kelsey. I would like to do this, I would like to live in this area. And he pointed that out. And, now I can find myself, it's like a we. It's always a we. Like, hey, we will be there tomorrow, or we are going there, and we being Kelsey. And it's such a weird mind change from just, solely me, an 18-year-old kid who's like, I'm going to be Leonardo DiCaprio, and then transformation into like this unit. And then now you're like another step up above, where you have like ground troops as your daughter, like you got to take care of her and everything. So it just continues on and on if you allow it.
Yeah.
The maturity and understanding.
Which yesterday we had our first, you see the photos on Facebook and stuff of kids getting into things like destruction.
Uh-oh.
I come home from work yesterday, and my fiance had caught her like just before I got home, but she got a hold of some lipstick and got it all over the bathroom door, all over her. And those are one of those moments where you try to, discipline them.
Right.
And teach them, not to do that. But at the same time, it's like, man, that's cute.
Yeah, exactly.
But I got to clean it up.
Yeah. It's like when little kids cuss and they don't mean to. They just kind of hear it. They don't really know what they're saying. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh.
Oh, man. The other day, she comes up to me and she's like, I'm going to spank your ass. And starts spanking me. I'm like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
Don't be saying that.
Right. And then it really intrigues them, like, well, why shouldn't I say that,
And they want to be rebellious, and those are their words they go for.
Yeah.
She's a parrot, man. She's a parrot.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Which that's another, before I had to make the conscious effort, to watch what I said. I cuss like a sailor.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Right.
And that's been a challenge, getting through.
Right.
Do a lot better now, though, but it's something you got to adjust to.
Yeah. Something you don't think about when they put that little girl in your arms. You're like, oh, I got to watch what I say.
Yeah. When she comes back from Grandma and Grandpa's house, she learned a few new words, I hear.
Right.
Oh,
right.
God.
I didn't, I've heard that before, and I didn't really experience it until I was around Kyan, our nephew, Caressa's son.
Yeah.
He's probably, I guess he's turning 4 here in a couple days. But, just being around him, he came over one time and I was shooting the bow and I kind of missed the target and I was like, shit. And I cared to go, shit, and he wasn't even paying attention to me. He's just like kicking grass. And I kind of look at him like, okay. Yeah. But I didn't really bring a lot of attention to it. I just kind of kept shooting. Just like, don't, I'll let the parents take care of that one. I'm sorry. But yeah, I just couldn't believe like how much of a parrot or a sponge he was.
Oh yeah.
Another thing I can never believe is like trying to explain something to him, like to a young person, a child, and then understand how crazy it is. So like we were sitting on the blanket the other day and we were kind of looking up at the stars, and I was kind of trying to teach him how to find the stars. It's right there between evening and night. So there you couldn't really see any, but it's like any second now it's going to get dark enough and the whole sky is going to light up. Yeah. But there was one, and it turned out to be Mars or Venus or Saturn, one of the planets. So it was super bright, and we were looking at it. And I started trying to explain to him that the sun is a star and stars are suns. And he was like, the sun is a star, And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's crazy, huh? It is really weird. Trying to break down.
Mind blown.
Yeah. Trying to break down things like that to where it's like, well, I've never really thought about it. That is crazy, huh? But they see the world in a whole different way literally for the first time. Yeah. Things that we're just kind of like, yep, that's corn. Like I've never had corn before. Like, Oh, you haven't? This is like literally the first time you ever tasted that.
Her big thing is cheese, man. This kid will eat. She'll go to the fridge. She can open the fridge now, open the drawer, get the slice of cheese out, and it always like worries me because she'll just start, chomp into the package until she can get it open to get the cheese. It's like, no, let me open it.
Yeah. Are you talking string cheese, like trying to get
sliced cheese? She loves string cheese too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely always have that on stock.
Yeah. That's good. That's not too terribly expensive.
No.
And high in fat, so it keeps you full and
Yeah.
satisfied.
Our big struggle is trying to get her to eat other things.
Yeah. Right.
She likes chicken.
That's good.
Every once in a while, so there's the protein, but
Mm-hmm.
she's very selective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kale.
No kale. When the little like baby food, that comes in the cups.
Right.
When she got to the point where she was eating those, she loved them. Like all the vegetables, carrots, peas. Of course they were mashed up.
Right.
Fruit. But now, like there was just a day where she decided she didn't like vegetables or very much of anything. Like she probably would like it,
right?
But just not in her mind. She's
right.
not trying it.
The effort that you have to put forward to actually get her to eat it.
Like if you just taste it.
Yeah. Right. Do you have to at that point you have to bargain with them, right? Just kind of like
pretty much, yeah. I mean,
and maybe that won't work.
They're small enough, like they don't require a full plate, you know, to get the nutrients, but
right.
You can get between that, we've tried to wean her off the bottle, and she's getting better at it. Mm-hmm. Like it used to be where she'd have 4, 5, 6 of them a day. And now we try to keep it. When she first wakes up, we'll give her one, and then anytime we give her one, it's usually in a setting where she's going to bed, taking a nap or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of the parenting, struggles we're working with now is getting the bottle gone, which, some parents have to, they have trouble getting them off pacifiers and stuff.
Right.
She never took to one really. So that was, a plus, but that and potty training.
Oh yeah.
Like she's at a point now where she understands, she knows like her parents use the potty.
Right.
And she knows the concept of it. So now, like if she has to poop or something, she'll run off on her own and hide, like in a room or something, and just hunker down in there and go in her diaper. It's
right.
Like, no, go sit on the pot.
Right.
No.
So progress is being made somewhat.
Yeah. It's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And then you get another step in there, eventually.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
So the other night when I was over at your house, you seemed pretty concerned about North Korea and global events like that.
Man, I tell you, a week ago, with all the talks, of the peace summit, you kind of get hopeful,
right?
That maybe things will settle down.
Yeah.
And here we are. What was it yesterday? Trump pulled out of it. God
damn it.
So I don't know, like with the news anymore. I still, when we're on the road, I'll listen to talk radio every once in a while.
Right.
I just don't even. I try to not even let it, affect my thinking anymore.
Right.
Like,
your decision making.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like you never know. Nothing will surprise me anymore, with what's going to happen in the world. My main focus is just, focusing on me, like my family.
Right. Things that you
I'll
can't
do my
control.
own thing. Yeah.
Right.
Whatever happens out there.
Right.
Just roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell can we do about North Korea?
Yeah.
You and I, nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's probably how the whole world or the whole country feels in a sense. But it's just scary to think about. Like if you kind of start pondering on it and thinking about what position we're getting ourselves into.
Like think about the worst case scenarios.
Oh, yeah. It's
like what would we do? Like if they sent a nuke over here and it destroyed our electrical grid, the EMP from it or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Like what would we do? Because, it would take, I was watching a documentary one time and they were talking about like theoretically if them or Iran were to do like a EMP bomb over like Cincinnati, it would knock out the entire electrical grid for the eastern half of the United States. It would take years to rebuild.
Wow.
The infrastructure. Yeah.
What?
Like what would it be? The Wild West.
Yeah. Martial law would probably be in place.
They'd have to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. I always feel like I'd fare well, but I feel like that's kind of like egotistical as far as like, I can get that girl, you know, like I got guns.
Do you watch Walking Dead?
No, but I know about it though.
Like when I'd, watch along with that, it's like, oh, why would you do that? I would do this,
Right.
But it's like really,
right.
The first year or two after something like that,
yeah,
supplies would still be abundant, but 5 years from then, I mean, what are you going to do for food?
Right.
You can hunt, but at a certain point, will the animals, be overhunted?
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
well, I mean, like right now, I could brag, and I got chickens, so I got eggs. I got a garden, so there's a little bit of sustenance there, renewable sustenance. I got bees, which is carbohydrates for honey. But the thing that I kind of never really think about until like now is the influx of people. So like you'd have like Kansas City come south, because they want to get out of the fucking city where there's nothing going on. So
no land to grow a garden.
Exactly.
Or raise any
so now you have So now you have like those people coming down, and if they come in big hordes, it's like, I don't know how many guns you got. So I mean, it could get out of control real quick. Like I said, I like to think that I'd be well off, and there's a lot of land and places, and depending on how bad it is, if they nuked 3 places and Russia, and like if it was really bad, Walking Dead bad, like then it's like, do you even want to live?
Is it worth it?
I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen, because I would rather just have our society prosper. I'd rather get badass new iPhones every year. I'd rather get the virtual reality headset, live long into old age to 155, and just have a good life. I'd rather have that than be like, sorry, baby, the electrical grid is down. It'll be 2022 when it's back up, and it'll still take a long time.
That's like, with our kid, like that's one of my biggest fears, is just raising her. Like, what's the world going to be like 10 years from now?
And you hear parents talk about that a lot.
And I mean, especially like on social media, you see videos of just like kids these days. They're little shits. Like, they're rude, And when you see a child like take their life from being bullied, and like they feel like that's all they can do to get out, escape the pain. It's like, man, that's one of the biggest things I want to enforce in her mind is, always come to me if there's ever an issue, like that's probably my biggest fear of parenting, is her future, like in society.
Like, you just want them to be well off. I think that's totally a parental instinct, because I guess that's your job. Your job is to raise this little girl. And then at some point kind of out of the nest, and hopefully she flies far. That's what you want.
Provide them with skills, to be successful.
Right. Learn from my mistakes, learn from my successes, and I didn't have my college paid for, but I'll pay for yours, or whatever that you're able to do. And
there's so many distractions nowadays. I mean, we had gaming systems and stuff at a young age, but we still went outside and played. Back in my day. But I mean, there's just so many distractions these days, and the effects, like, for instance, she likes to watch kid shows on Netflix. And at first, we'd give her our phone and let her watch it on there. And then, like, I read an article one time talking about the effects that they have on the brain, because they're a sponge at that age. And it just builds up. And I kind of noticed it as time went on, because at first she would just hold the phone and watch. But then she got, she'd press buttons. And, I mean, now she can go... If one of her shows is only on Netflix and she's on YouTube, she can switch apps and open up and find her show. It's crazy, man.
Wow, she's not even 2. Wow.
But it's just like on YouTube, she'd watch video and then scroll and find something else she wanted. And it just kind of embedded like the instant gratification, like control, and whatever she wanted, she could get it right then, So we pulled off with her using the phone so much. We'll stream Netflix on, TV for her to watch her shows every once in a while. We limit it, 30 minutes to an hour type of thing. And it's like, I've seen some improvement, but there'd be times like in the depth of it where it wouldn't even be on the phone. Like, she wanted a piece of candy or something. Like, if you didn't give it to her right then, she'd throw a fit. Like, I want it now. And it's...
YouTube would give it to me.
Like... I can watch Elmo whenever I want.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to find the balance, you know,
Yeah.
with it.
The scariest thing about those, you know, versus like our Nintendo 64s or PlayStations or whatever, you know, that, yeah, they were designed to keep our attention and to keep us playing. But the further that we've gone down this road, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, like all those, they are literally designed to keep your attention for as long as possible.
They're designed to be addictive.
Yes.
Like, because that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
You being on there.
They are literally hacking the human psyche and the human genome as far as behavior. And that's what scares the shit out of me, because I find myself being trapped on those things, you know, I'm literally, sometimes I'm flipping through Instagram and I have to count down like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, throw the phone, you know, like, God, how long have I been on that thing? Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's like with, you know, Facebook being in the news lately, you know, with their privacy issues and how much information they know. It's like they really do, on a psychological level, like could probably predict what a lot of people would do in a certain scenario, you know, and that's what's scary. You got a big, powerful corporation like that with that knowledge. Yeah. Like, that's
predictive
crazy.
Knowledge, you know. I had a quote that I put on Facebook a while back. I think I said something, I want to know my wife better than her device does. Yeah. You know, like that thing. I mean, that thing on the floor right there, that little black box, the little iPhone staring up at me, like, knows more about me. Like, first of all, it looks at me every day as I hold it. Like, it sees every sort of muscle twitch and blink and everything. But it also has my most intimate thoughts on that notepad. Like, I've put shit on there that's crazy, because I think it's mine and anyone can read it and probably no one cares besides myself. Yeah. But like, there's so much of me inside of that little piece of technology. And here's the thing I was thinking about when you were telling me about your daughter switching between apps and everything, is that with you and I, like, we can see our Facebook, like when we started Facebook, like 2009, 2010. Before that, you know, we were just off grid. Yeah. You know, you go all the way back. Yeah, we played our little Mario Karts and Call of Duties or whatever. But we'd go, like you said, we'd go outside, we'd play basketball. You'd go off into the ether. You know, you didn't have a phone. You didn't have anything to, like, track you. With her and kids nowadays, from now on, like, they are, from the moment they're born or the moment they can kind of finger a tablet or something, they're on. Yeah. They are connected.
They don't know what it was like, you know, before.
And so you think Facebook knows you well, or knows me well. They're going to know her so well, because they can see from 2 years old, like, this is what you used to watch. And because you watched this, that led into this. Yeah. And then you got into this, and that's why you studied this in school. And then they can just kind of like, you're probably going to do this or whatever. And I'm not saying that they'd be accurate, but they have a lot more information on her than they do us. Yeah. Maybe. We're on the internet a lot. Yeah. One thing it does, though, is it, at least for me, it has inspired me to accept myself for who I am and to accept other people. So, you know, previously in the past, there's certain things where you just keep to yourself, and like, not everyone looks at porn, you know, but it's like, dude, someone's looking at porn because there's a $1 billion business. Yeah. And
it's like next to Facebook, is, you know, the most visited, Facebook and Google, YouTube, and porn.
Pornhub. Yeah. So instead of being like ashamed of that, or not just porn, but just things that in the past that people would be ashamed of, like, oh, I really enjoy, you know, this TV show, or I'm really into reading whatever, I don't know. But instead of being ashamed of it and burying it, I found that it's like more accepting, just to be like, yep, that's what I do. Yeah. And it kind of takes power away from those institutions that are like, you'll never be governor of California because you're into this weird shit. And it's like, yeah, I am. It's like, you just rip all the power from them.
I mean, that's what, like, and it's kind of getting off, like, in the conspiracy side of things, but, you know, 20 years from now, when you got politicians running for office or whatever, and, you know, the powers that are in control at that time can access, you know, with the right influence, can find out every single thing about you.
Every keystroke, you know, what'd you Google on this day?
And nobody's perfect. You know, somebody has something that could be used against them, you know, in a political scene. You know? So that's like the whole, like with the Trump thing. them having like an FBI informant, you know, in the campaign.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's really scary.
Yeah.
Like what could be done. You
Right.
know?
At some point, you get in the way.
Yeah.
It's like, well, just dig up his records.
Yeah.
You know, like.
That's like the whole Stormy Daniels thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you 90% of the other rich white dudes that are in office there have paid off, you know, mistresses and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just taking this and running with it. You know?
Right.
It's like, come on. But I think like a majority of people I've seen, there's a show on Showtime. It's called like The Circus or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got some people from MSNBC that host it.
The circus.
And they just go around and kind of cover what's happening that week, you know. And they asked a bunch of Trump supporters in the Midwest, like what they thought about what was going on.
Right.
And all of them are like, I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, not to say it's not a moral
Right.
issue, but it's, you know, it's a personal moral issue.
Right.
You know? And,
Well, I think within the past, they put so much emphasis on that crap that we just kind of got tired of it. Like, whatever,
Really?
who
Yeah.
cares? You know, like in the past, I guess in the past, people had a higher standard of perception of someone else. Like, he's a good man, he takes care of his family, you know, blah blah blah. But as time going on has gone on, and privacy has just kind of diminished further and further and further, it's kind of like, oh, like I said earlier, like we all do this.
yeah.
Someone is watching porn on Pornhub because it's still there and it's still making money, and it's probably not just me, it's probably all of us.
Yeah.
So then it's not as bad. Like, well, Donald Trump looks at animal porn, you know, whatever. It's like, oh my god. So oh, by the way, there's nukes, you know.
Yeah. Things get more normalized. I read a book back, this was when I was in Pittsburgh, probably 09, 10. It's called The Overton Window, and it's by Glenn Beck. He wrote it, which I'm not a huge Glenn Beck fan,
Right.
but it was a good book.
You can pick up some advice.
Yeah,
Some
but it's about, like, the Overton window is kind of like, it's talking about, for an example, you know, back in the 60s, if you were flying somewhere, you could walk right into the airport, get on your plane, spark your cigarette, and do what you want.
Yeah.
But slowly over time, more and more regulation comes in, and it may seem like the Patriot Act or something like that. Like, it may seem overhauling at first, and people don't like it, but a year goes by, 2 years goes by, and it becomes normalized.
Right.
You know, so then they, you know, start hacking your phones. The NSA, you know, the
right.
PRISM thing.
Right.
And that's, you know, we don't hear about it anymore
No.
so much, but I guarantee you they're still doing it.
Absolutely.
You know, and we don't care to hear about it anymore.
That's the whole lose your freedom an inch at a time,
Yeah.
you know? And it's just like, that's what, you know, Jordan Peterson talks about, especially with the gender pronouns. Like, that's where he put his foot down.
Yeah.
And in the book, that when you read it, he'll talk about it. And it's the 1 inch at a time, you know? Oh yeah, you know, we gotta pat you down. You gotta go to this giant metal detector. And then, oh no, yeah, we're gonna put you on the no-fly list. You know, we're just listening on the bad guys.
Yeah.
Just kidding, everybody.
If you have nothing to hide, why are you worrying?
That's not
Like,
the
no,
point.
man.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really the point as far as privacy and being a citizen.
Yeah.
But and then before you know it, it's in the military state, and you're in a compound, and the gas chambers turn on. Like, it's happened before.
Yeah.
And it's happened many times before, and it goes all the way back to like Genghis Khan when he was doing shit like that. I mean, he didn't have gas chambers, but it's like pretty soon you're in a pit full of dead people.
Like, I mean, you look like with what the U.S. did over the years with Native American tribes.
Oh yeah.
You know, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Sign the treaties and then break them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
You know?
Just keep moving in.
Yeah.
Here's some sweet blankets that have a bunch of smallpox on them, you know, like just dirty shit like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, not that we're any better nowadays, but god dang, like that's how it happens, just inch by inch. And that's the whole from cobwebs to chains. Have you ever heard that saying? It's like habits start as cobwebs. Like, they're real easy, just, but if you leave them there, then they turn into chains at some point where it's like, oh, you're not gonna be able to get rid of this.
It's harder to break.
Way harder to break. Yeah. It's the tree sapling to a tree analogy that I like to use, as far as you can plant any habit that you like, good or bad. And we're planting habits all the time, good and bad. And while they're young, you just pull them out of the ground, no problem. Your dirt gets rustled a little bit, but after a while they become super thick, deep-rooted trees. And it's like, okay, even if you get this bad habit out of here, there's still gonna be a stump. You know, there's still gonna be like a scar. So as far as being, young men, I mean, that's should be one of our top priorities, is like continually look at ourselves and make sure that these habits that we're planting and that we are executing day by day is something that we'd like to have around, because the older you get and the further you get in life, the harder it gets, the more solidified you get, you know. I can already feel it. I'm 28, so I'm still fairly young, but I can see patterns a little bit more because I now have life to look back on a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
That was always, when you're 18 and you leave high school, it's like, how far can you go back?
Yeah.
It's like 8 years ago, I was 10 years old and I was having birthday parties and, you know, all that kind of crap. But to have a little bit of retrospective to rumination.
Yeah. And that's like experience with anything. You know, you can go get a degree and have all the book smarts, but without the experience, where's the value in it? You know?
Right.
I'm not saying there's no value in it, but.
Right. That's the number one. Well, that's one of the top criticisms of scholars and collegiate folk, is that, you know the book from page 1 to the end, but have you ever built a computer before? Like, or have you ever interviewed someone in a war-torn country? Or
Kiyosaki, he's big on like, he talks about like your accounting professor. He may know accounting 101 or whatever, but has he ever been an accountant? You know, like real world experience. Right. You know. Right. Let's get that out. But yeah, like, I mean, with life in general, it applies the same way. You know, you learn your life lessons along the way and deal with the consequences, good and bad, and you know, as long as you learn from it.
Yeah.
You know? That's like another thing he talks about. You know, in school, if you ask for help or collaborate with somebody, you're cheating. You know, you're not allowed to do that, right? Whereas in business, to be successful, you need to bounce ideas off people, right? You know, and communicate, right? What was the other thing? It was something along those lines, like just in school, you know, you're taught to do it this certain way, but in the real world, you know, you kind of have to break those rules that were ingrained in you, right? And, you know, it kind of seems weird. But
one thing that I've really been learning lately is just mutual bartering, I guess what you'd call it, as far as like, you have a skill and I have a skill, and either being the person that goes, I'm talking to person A and they mention a cleaning service, and I go, oh, my friend Cody, person C over here, A, B, C, they have a cleaning service. Let me connect you two. That, and then also like our neighbor Doug Puckett, who lives right across the street, or right next to us on 1020 in Baxter. Like, he has all this construction equipment, like scaffolding and generators and all this kind of stuff that's just kind of sitting in his office. So he comes over, sees all the work we're doing, and goes, dude, I can help you guys out. It's just right. I'm not using it. So he gives us this scaffolding, and we get down to it. Well, I get a text from him like yesterday. He needs a CD burned for his daughter's wedding. It's like, okay, this is where this mutual barterism comes in. So like, I'll take care of you, you take care of me. And just that within the last 6 months has been incredible, as far as helping people out in these really small things that they get a lot of benefit from. It's real easy for me not to, even if it's like I have a truck and I need to help someone move. Yeah. Like, they don't forget that. Yeah. And especially in the business world, you know, that could propel you very far.
Like, you get back what you put into it. Yeah. Maybe, you know, next week, next year, whenever, but yeah.
Yeah, he looked at me, he's like, what do I owe you? I go, you let me use the scaffolding. Like, don't, like, yeah, this is just cool. Like, don't worry about it. That goes a long ways. Just like you taking time out of your day to come sit with me at the podcast and bullshit. You know, that's valuable time. Yeah. Valuable time.
It's all about the experience, man.
Yeah. Well, I know you gotta get out of here and do your deeds, clean your stuff. What are you cleaning tonight?
We're actually doing some floor care. We're buffing some floors. Okay. Have you ever been to Randy's Drive-In in Carl Junction?
I have not.
It's a little, you know, burger joint.
Okay.
It's been there forever. But we've had a contract with him coming up on a year now.
Nice.
Like, once a year. In the floor, they have VCT tile. It's like the tile you see in like Walmart, like your grocery store floor. Right. And every so often, like the wax that's on it
Uh-huh.
has to be stripped up, you know, and new put down.
Huh.
And then like his place on a monthly basis, we'll go in there and buff them.
Nice.
Because, you know, they get scratches in them, you know, little dings here and there.
Right.
And that just kind of is like a quick fix, you know. But yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. It's always fun.
You get to ride the thing, the giant buffer.
It's a smaller
Oh.
floor, so it's just like a hand
Okay.
machine, you know.
That's still
but,
fun.
Yeah.
With KMT's expansion, like, does that help your contract out?
Well, we're not actually
Oh.
with KMT anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We lost that deal a year or so ago.
Oh.
But we're trying,
To get it
always
back.
trying to get back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that expansion is huge.
It's
Like,
crazy.
Yeah. And what's really crazy is like the ownership company of them
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 years ago, there's like two big players in the water jet industry, right?
Mhm.
It's KMT and then Flow, which Flow was out of Seattle.
Okay.
They at one point in time may have been like a subsidiary of Boeing or something like that.
Okay.
It was a company came and bought KMT, and then that company also bought the biggest competitor. And I'm talking that's like 80% of the market share.
Wow.
And they had to jump through the hoops with the government and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But now I think they're closing everything down in Washington and moving
Mhm.
all that to Baxter. So I mean, it's
Wow.
huge. You're talking
Yeah.
hundreds of jobs.
Yeah.
Good paying jobs.
When I was told that KMT had $100 million expansion, just like it just was time for them to expand. We're going to do this expansion. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then that whole thing happened with Seattle, and it was like, okay, 100 million just went to 350 million, plus all these jobs,
Yeah.
plus all this new equipment, plus all these new contracts.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then having military be bought up by the one chick from Miami. You know,
Is that the car?
that's the car
Museum?
museum. Yeah, car museum. 2 bars, at least probably 2 or 3 bars are going to go in.
Did I hear like a go-kart track or something?
Supposedly, I have no idea how the hell that's going to
Yeah.
work.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be awesome.
I'm excited.
I was there today, but I was like, man, how the hell? It's a bistro, bar, restaurant, $30 million car museum, rotating out every month. Something else, maybe a sandwich shop or something like that. The whole block got bought up. Cafe on the Route, from all the way Cafe on the Route all the way down to the Ritz. That's the only building that didn't get bought.
Yeah.
And so, like Doug across the or next door to us, he's opening. Nobody listens to this podcast. He's opening a like a wood fire pizza oven place on Military
Really?
with craft beer and everything.
Wow.
So like, there's a lot of innovation and a lot of industry coming back to Baxter right now. So it's really cool.
Which they need it because that's like you could see it over the
Mhm.
past 5-10 years.
Right.
Just the town dwindling
Yep.
down. You
Mhm.
know.
And then the tornado did not help at all.
Yeah.
Tornado came through and rearranged some stuff, and then
Losing Walmart.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Walmart leaving was way big,
Yeah.
and most of Military looked terrible. Everything's just nothing was renovated. Everything was closed down, but so far it's been a total transformation.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a good timing at this point as far as KMT and all that kind of crap. It's all pulling itself together.
And
the
that-
school's always been there.
And that, like, with like the drug problem in our area.
Yeah.
I mean, when you bring in good paying jobs
Right.
and give people a chance to make a living,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, it's got a lot of good things are going to come from it. you
Right.
know, from a societal aspect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Crime
associate-
rates go down. You
Yeah.
know.
When you can make, like you said, when you make a living and you're not working 5 jobs,
Yeah.
you're working one that you enjoy, and you can take care of your kids, and you can remodel your home the way you'd like to do it, or the way that you need to do it. My roof is leaking, but I
Yeah.
can afford it. I can take care of it. So yeah, it's definitely a feedback loop.
Yeah.
So you add 100 new jobs to KMT alone. Well, it's like, where are those people going to eat? Where are they going to work? Or
Live.
not where they're going to work.
Yeah.
Where are they going to live? Where are they going to do all these things? Where are they going to buy
Buy
their
their groceries. and
Exactly.
stuff like that. Yeah.
So it is good to see that in a small town like that. So I'm hoping for big things for Baxter and the whole area.
Yeah.
The whole area.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, it's been fun.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
The first time.
Yeah.
Lost my V card on SciFi And Friends.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Feel like a new man.
2 hours.
Yeah.
I know we kind of started a little bit late. I always try to go for 3, but Sometimes it's hard, man.
Yeah.
Especially when I was doing 2 a day, it helped me really get into a flow. Because I'd start on a Monday and do an episode, and then Tuesday I was just like flying. Like I was in podcast host mode, you know?
Yeah.
So, but when we get back to it, which I haven't announced it yet, but my goal is 100 episodes by the end of the year. So that's minimum 2 a week until from here to December.
Yeah.
So I think I can do it. We'll see.
Well, I'm always down to come back.
Dude, you're welcome to come anytime.
We can bring Grant on. And
I would love. I mean, I got this third one. I've done 3-person podcasts. They're fucking awesome. Yeah, they're super fun. Yeah, Grant would be awesome to bring on. I miss that guy.
He's married now. He's a married man.
Yeah.
He just got back from his honeymoon.
Where'd he go?
Jamaica.
Come
Yeah.
on. That's where Caleb went. Bring back any Blue Mountain coffee for us?
I don't think so.
Best coffee I've ever had.
Have you ever tried? God, what's the name? It's at
Cope
Walmart.
Luwak. Oh.
No,
Sorry.
I can't remember the name.
Sumatra? Colombian? Brazilian?
They have a Jamaican brew,
Uh-huh.
and that's what we've been buying lately.
Good stuff.
And oh yeah, it's real good.
Jamaican brew. I don't know. True Blue Mountain, Jamaican Blue Mountain. It's like $55 a pound minimum.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's crazy high.
Wow.
The only thing that's higher than that is, it's like a Chinese tea or something called jasmine, or it's something like an Asian name. I haven't heard of it very much, but it's like the most expensive tea or most expensive coffee.
Man.
So, I mean, I'm not paying that much.
Yeah.
I paid $25 for a cup of Cope Luwak. I don't know if it was a real Cope Luwak, the weasel shit coffee. You know what I'm talking about? Oh
I don't know
shit!
if I've seen it.
There's a thing called Cope Luwak. It's a type of coffee, and it's called a civet. I'll look it up for you. It looks like a ferret or something. But this civet, I gotta type in civet because I don't know how to spell Cope Luwak. There it is. Civet coffee. If I could find Cope Luwak. Anyway, it's like this little weasel thing, and it climbs up into the trees of these coffee trees, and it eats the beans. And because of its digestive whatever, it changes the profile of the beans, but doesn't digest the beans, and then it shits them out. And you take the shit and you wash it, and then you grind those beans and you make coffee out of it.
Oh my.
Yeah. There's actually that. There's like, dude, see, I can't spell it. Cope Luwak. And if I type in coffee, that'll help. Google. Cope Luwak. God. Anyway, there's panda barf tea or something. Like, there's all these weird, you get in all these weird animal things where like they eat it and defecate it, or they throw it up, and then humans take it and they brew it. Yeah. But it was a really good cup of coffee, and some people say it's the best coffee they've ever had.
I'd probably need to do like a blind test.
There it is.
First, without knowing what it was.
Yeah. Fuck, this Wikipedia is better. Here you go. Oh, Cope Luwak. Yeah. Is a coffee that includes part digested coffee cherries eaten and defecated by the Asian palm civet. Yep. See, so he's holding right here. He's holding shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I don't know how they wash it, but right there, most expensive coffee in the world retails $550 or $700 per kilogram. So yeah, there's the little motherfucker. God, he looks gross. You're gonna eat shit from
like
him?
A jungle rat.
Oh my god! And who was the person that found this out?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is what they'll do. They have these farms, so they breed these civets and feed them coffee because it's worth that much. $500 a pound.
It's like, we're out of coffee. Well, let's go dig through some civet shit. Maybe they have some.
Start shoveling. Yeah. And there's, if I could find, I didn't know there was like a name for this sort of food, but yeah, I've seen like panda barf tea, and I've seen like elephant shit coffee, and
oh my god.
yeah, I've seen all kinds of weird stuff. Had never tried it. I've tried Cope Luwak, or what I thought was Cope Luwak. I bought it on the internet, but imitation. Yeah, I probably got a straight up imitate. I probably just got fucking Folgers,
Like
and I
shit.
paid $55. So who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll get a hold of some, and we can try it.
Hell yeah.
Because my palate on coffee is way different than it used to be. But I still do remember Jamaican Blue Mountain being like one of the best, dude. It was just such a superior cup of coffee. It's amazing. Light roast and all that kind of stuff. So good. Alrighty, man.
Some coffee.
Yes, I need some right now. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. Come on anytime that you'd like. Mention it to Grant. We'll set something up. I mean, you just live a stone's throw away.
Yeah, hop in a skip.
Yeah, hop in a skip.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Any last words? You got anything? Any social media profiles anyone should follow you on?
I'm on Instagram.
He's on Instagram.
Instagram, I think ctpaine31.
ctpaine31.
I believe.
Nice.
Facebook,
good.
Snapchat.
I'll put it all in the description.
Yeah.
Snapchat's always good.
Yeah.
I'll put your little thing.
Used to be on Twitter, but then
it's tough.
Yeah.
The way it operates is a little different.
And the only reason I would get off Facebook, but got to run the business page.
Same way.
And family.
Same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I with all the privacy stuff, I kind of wanted to be the person that did it, but it's just same way. Business and family.
Just a black hole.
Yeah, that's how my grandma knows everything I do. Yeah. Which is I want her to. So, but do you want to give a shout out if people want to get their houses cleaned? Should they?
Carpet cleaning.
Okay.
It's a good time. Springtime usually. When you get in the spring cleaning mode. We're very fair priced. Quick response.
Yeah.
We can get there pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's the big thing for residential carpet cleaning.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like gutter cleaning.
Right.
We're into the rainy season.
Yep.
So a lot of debris can build up in your gutters, and it's good to take care of them because that can lead to some more costly damages.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we're on Facebook, American Standard Cleaning. We have our website, AmericanStandardClean.com.
Awesome.
You can go on there and kind of check out our services. Anybody that wants to apply for a job, that's the best way to do it, AmericanStandardClean.com. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Get your carpets cleaned.
Clean your carpets.
It's that time of year,
it.
baby. All righty, man.
Mention the SciFi And Friends podcast, and we'll give you a couple bucks off.
There you go. You got a discount. Our first sponsor, SciFi And Friends, gets a discount. 99, negative 90. No, sorry.
We'll give you 99 cents off.
Yeah, there you go. Anything will help.
Yeah.
Anything will help. All right, man. Well, thank you once again for coming on.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, tuning in. Like I said, I'm trying to hit 100 episodes by the end of the year. I just quit my job, so hopefully we can work that in, be consistent, and we'll see you soon. We're gonna do Carlos next week, Casey, and I forget the other guy. I need more coffee, but there'll be more episodes, so don't worry. All right, we'll see you soon, people.
Later.
Peace.
787 departure frequency on the final will be 1257.
25-7, thanks.